local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, everybody, welcome in. It is the Justin Kinner Show without Kev Nash today, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. How are you? We welcome you in again. Shout out to our sponsor, Orion Sports Medicine. We have a jam-packed show for you here today on a Thursday. I tell you what, I'm jacked up about this weekend. We got the TBT on WING. Just a reminder, a couple regions have already, they've already shaped out. We already know of a few teams who are going to be playing in championship week at UD Arena, so we're pretty excited about that. What we're really hoping for is that the Red Scare, the Dayton Flyers alumni team, and Carmen's Crew, Ohio State's alumni team, we hope that both of those teams win out in the regional from the Cavelli Center, tipping off tomorrow night, so that we can watch the Red Scare play on their home floor once again. So I think that's really exciting. An opportunity to watch Ryan Mikesell and Trey Landers and Kendall Pollard and V. Sanford and a lot of former fan favorites amongst the Flyer faithful all could potentially have a chance to play at UD Arena once again. I'm really excited about that, and I hope you guys are as well. So the TBT on WING. Tomorrow night, we will tip that off. We'll have Carmen's Crew on, and at 9 p.m., we'll be carrying that live from the Cavelli Center. In fact, I spoke with Chris Holtman earlier today. We were going back and forth. He said he's going to come sit in with me for a little bit on that game tomorrow night and possibly over the weekend. So really excited about what's coming up this weekend with Carmen's Crew, with the Ohio State Buckeyes alumni team, as well as the Red Scare. In fact, coming up at 4 p.m. today, we'll be joined by Kendall Pollard, former Flyer, one of my favorite former Flyers. And I'm really pumped to talk with him. They've been busy. They've been prepping hard. And what's funny is when I talk to, a lot of the guys who are playing right now and getting prepared for for the TBT, the practices are pretty intense. Like, they are practicing hard. They are getting in basketball shape. The one thing, that's interesting, you look at Carmen's Crew, they get to tip off on, in Columbus. They didn't play at the Cavelli Center during their playing days, but they're going to have the home court advantage. Dayton's going to send a lot of fans to Columbus on Saturday for their 3 p.m. tip off. But keep in mind, what's driving these guys is to get back to UD Arena. It's one thing. A lot of these guys got a chance to play together again just 2 years ago in the TBT at Capitol when you had Kyle Davis and, obviously you had Kendall Pollard and you had Daryl. You had a lot of those guys that all played together at UD and then reunited with the Red Scare for the TBT a few years ago. But it's one thing to reunite and play together, but it's one thing to play together on your home floor. That doesn't happen, and there's a chance for that to happen for the Flyers and the Red Scare. So we'll talk about that with Kendall Pollard coming up here at 4:00. So I wanted to get the Reds out of the way. I just want to get the Reds discussion out of the way, because the big question right now for the Cincinnati Reds is to trade or not to trade, to be sellers or to be buyers at the deadline. And I think we, in sports media, I think we throw this around too loosely. This is the biggest game of the year. This is the biggest series of the year. But I think you can argue that this series with the Cardinals coming up this weekend, starting tomorrow night, this is the biggest series in not the history of the Reds. I'll never go that far. But at least for the next 5 years, this series is going to dictate how the Reds look, not over the next 2 months, but over the next 4 to 5 years. Going into the All-Star break, they're 4 games out. They won 48 games. And when you look at the success that they had, they were really starting to do this whole Major League, the movie Major League. They were starting to kind of the storyline was starting to kind of feel very much Major League like. You have ownership that wants to get rid of the team and sell the team. That's not the Castellinis, but the ownership has different plans. And the only way for the ownership to be able to fulfill those plans is for the team to lose. And in the movie Major League, the team gets hot. They start winning games. They do the us against the world and us against even our owners mentality. And that was kind of the premise of that movie. Really good movie. One of my favorite sports movies of all time. But what was most interesting about that is the fact that that's kind of what's going on here. Many people believe that the ownership group, the Castellinis, want the Reds to lose. They want the Reds to lose so that they could be dead and buried by the trade deadline, so that they can get away with blowing this roster up. right? Like that's kind of where we're at right now. And what the Reds were doing is by continuing to win, they were a thorn in the side of ownership's side, because now what we think wants to have happen is to blow this roster up, to be able to trade a lot of pieces away, replenish the farm system, kind of, build up some money a little bit and kind of move forward. Well, the Reds winning and being 4 games out of first place and not having any team in front of them outside of the Brewers in the division, as well as really only 2 teams in front of them in the wild card, it's kind of put the teams in a predicament where how can they justify to the fan base blowing it all up when they are so close and they haven't been to the playoffs? And I know they made it last year. I don't count last year. They haven't been to a real playoff since 2013. They don't make it this year. We head into 22. We're approaching almost a decade since the Reds last played in a real playoff series. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So this series with the Cardinals sets up a very interesting predicament for the Reds, because the next 3 games will determine what the next 3 years look like. This isn't just about the trade deadline coming up on the 30th. This is about the direction of the franchise. Are we about to embark on another rebuild? Are the Castellinis about to hit the reset button once again? That's the big question. And that was the question when the Reds were continuing to win. Everyone just assumes that, oh man, they're just going to go out and they're load up this team with bullpen help and off they go off into the sunset, right? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. So the big thing that I'm looking at is this series coming up. The Reds drop 2 or 3 and they drop further in the standings. I think we're saying goodbye to some pieces. The problem for the Reds is the pieces that they would probably want to move on from as far as any kind of big names. Castellanos, if he's on the IL for the next couple of weeks past the deadline, they couldn't move him if they wanted to. Same thing with Moustakas. They can't move him even if they wanted to. Eugenio Suarez, if they were going to move him, they should have moved him this past offseason, which I would have been against at that time. Now, looking back, okay, it probably would have been smart. His value is a lot higher in the offseason than it was at this point at the deadline heading in to the July 30th deadline. So who are the Reds going to move on from? Sonny Gray? Sure. You can get a couple nice prospects for Sonny Gray. Maybe. But is it worth moving on from Sonny Gray, who, honestly, it was one hell of a deal. When they did the sign and trade for him for the Yankees, they didn't pay him like a top pitcher in baseball. He's performed like a top pitcher in baseball. I know injuries have kind of kept him from being consistent this year. But, man, this series coming up with the Cardinals, if you show the ownership that we really are just a bullpen away from being a contender, things get interesting. If they drop 2 or 3 and the bullpen's bad and the starters remain to have bad outings and the lineup is inconsistent and getting shut out twice in the first 6 games out of the chute, that's not a good thing, right? The one thing that the Reds have messed up big time with is I'm not fine with them being 1-5 out of the break, but if they were 1-5 out of the break and the 5 losses all stemmed from bad bullpen play, I'd say the Reds are still in good shape. That actually helps the Reds, because now they could look at ownership and say, we lost 5 games out of 6 right out of the All-Star break because of our bullpen. And if you give us a bullpen, we're a much different team. The problem for the Reds coming out of this All-Star break is that they have lost 5 of 6, but it's not because of the bullpen. Their starters have been horrible. The lineup has been too inconsistent. They've been very undisciplined. They've been making a lot of mental mistakes at the plate, base running blunders, fielding errors. They have not been a sharp team. That's just the bottom line. You can't look at the 5 of 6 that they've dropped coming out of the break and say, this team, they're a bullpen away. They have not. They have only had one nice outing from a starter since coming out. I'm not going to repeat my takes over and over from the last couple of days, but I think you all know, if you watch this team, the way that they're losing right now, they're losing because of bad pitching, not just in innings 5 through 9, but in innings 1 through 9. They are a complete mess from top to bottom right now, to where in the first half of the season, they were just a bad bullpen. This series with the Cardinals is absolutely huge. I'm interested to see which direction the franchise goes in as the trade deadline is coming up. I am kind of curious. Let me see what we got here. So on the 30th coming up, a week from tomorrow is the trade deadline. To buy or not to buy, to trade or not to trade, to sell or not to sell, that's going to be the big question. So ESPN And David Schoenfield puts out this article talking about the Cincinnati Reds, talking about the short history. Goes on to say that after not making the playoffs since 2013 or even finishing above 500, the Reds dipped into free agency prior to the 2020 COVID season for the first time in over a decade. They signed Nick Castellanos, Mike Moustakas, Wade Miley. They go and get Shogo Akiyama. They traded for Sonny Gray the previous offseason. They get Trevor Bauer at the previous deadline of 19. The Reds were going all in to win in 2020. They technically kind of won in 2020. They technically made the playoffs in 2020. But even then, folks, you gotta really look at this. You added Mike Moustakas, you added Wade Miley, you added Nick Castellanos, and you had Trevor Bauer, you had Sonny Gray, you had Luis Castillo, you had solid pieces in the bullpen, and they only went 31-29. It's not like they dominated in 60 games last year. They barely made the playoffs, and they wouldn't have made the playoffs if it wasn't that extra playoff spot due to the shortened COVID season. So I'm not buying into this fact that David Bell's working magic here. I just think that this is a scenario where the Reds are snake bit. When they get hitting, they don't get pitching. When they get pitching, they don't get hitting. And then when they get hitting and pitching, they get bad fielding and they lose close games. And it's a head scratcher when it comes to this team. So you got to look at what's coming up for the Cincinnati Reds as far as what they could potentially do. Their biggest problem, it's the bullpen, as we all know. The Reds have an easily identifiable issue, at least based on first half of play. They're 29th in the majors in bullpen ERA, although a little better in win probability, added at 19th. Still, they've shuffled through the three closers. The current guy in Hembree has allowed 8 home runs in 32 innings. 8 home runs in 32 innings. Now, here's who the Reds could go after, according to Schoenfield with ESPN, and I disagree. I don't see this happening. I would love if the Reds would go after him, but I do believe that the team that they would try to go get this guy from would not part ways with him within the division. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. But Craig Kimbrell is a name that a lot of Reds fans are hoping for as the deadline comes up a week from tomorrow. Craig Kimbrell has been lights out for the Cubs. He has a $16 million club option for 22, which could help alleviate the closer problem next season, too. That's a pretty steep price, though, for the Reds, but they could give the Cubs a better prospect if the Cubs include cash to pay down the rest of his 2021 salary. So that's if the Reds do want to go all in. If the Reds do want to go but this is why this series with the Cardinals is so important. The Reds, with the way that they have not lost in a convincing enough fashion to convince ownership that we are just a bullpen away. Because if the Reds go all in, and they already have kind of a lighter farm system, keep in mind, the strength that they do have it could potentially be called up as early as September with, of course, Hunter Green. But going after a Craig Kimbrell, you would have to give up some prospects. You would have to pay a decent chunk of change that they have convinced us they don't have, right? So if the Castellanis were going to have their arms twisted enough to make this deal, they better be a Craig Kimbrell away from winning this division. That's where you got to ask yourself, are the Reds a Craig Kimbrell away from winning this division? 457-9464. Big series coming up with the Cardinals. Reds-Cardinals game 1 tomorrow night. And you have to ask yourself, are the Reds in a position to add a Craig Kimbrell and convince ownership that they are a Craig Kimbrell away from being a contender, from winning the division and making the playoffs and having home field advantage in a full 7-game playoff series? That's what you have to ask yourself, and that's the same question ownership is asking. And it doesn't have to be a Craig Kimbrell, but if that name is involved in trade talks with the Reds as the trade deadline approaches a week from tomorrow, you'd have to think that means that's the mindset that the Reds front office has. We're not just going after improved bullpen arms, we're going after the bullpen arms, and that has to be the question. Jake Whiting on Facebook. Again, we're live on Facebook, everybody. If you head to Facebook, search The Justin Kinner Show. You can jump in the chat and the conversation that way. Also, you can find us on YouTube. Search ESPN Dayton and subscribe to ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. Be a part of the conversation there as well. Jake Whiting on Facebook, he messages into the show saying that they need more than Kimbrell. They need Taylor Rogers, too. Trust me, that's kind of where I'm at with this as well. It's not like they are one bullpen arm away. We've also seen how David Bell doesn't necessarily use solid. Look at the two closers, the two strong bullpen arms that they had last year. Rarely used them. Never used him the way he was supposed to. You get Michael Lorenzen back. Everyone was talking about basically under a week ago on Friday. Man, we got Michael Lorenzen back, and they didn't even use him. Then when David Bell did use him, he used him in the outfield. and was trying to get everyone excited about, oh man, remember what Michael Lorenzen could do with the bat in his hands? Don't you think you have enough guys hitting 200 in this lineup? Do we really need to force Michael Lorenzen into this line? We need his ass on the mound. Now he's hurt. Castellanos is out for maybe 2 to 3 weeks, according to his Instagram account. He was doing an Instagram live with Chris Rose last night and said that right now he can't swing a bat, which I don't understand how he was even inserted into the lineup, and not really the lineup, but he was used, he was used the other night for a pinch hit situation. So I also don't understand the decision to go that route as well the other night. David Bell, I don't get it. But look, this Reds team has more problems than David Bell, so I'm going to try to refrain from using that name because I don't think that David Bell is even in the top 4 when it comes to issues with this team. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. We'll step away for a few moments. We'll keep the conversation going on Facebook. Head to the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. Like, follow along, watch the show live, jump in on the comment section. Scott Campbell on YouTube. He says they don't lose today. Let's go. They can't lose today. Let's go Reds. Absolutely. The Reds off today. They'll be back in action tomorrow as they kick off the series with the Cardinals from Great American Ballpark. They got swept by the Brewers at home, dropped 2-3 to the Mets at home, trying to regain some of that momentum that they lost coming out of the All-Star break that they had before. Can they get it going against the Cardinals tomorrow night? That's going to be the big question. But you're right, Scott. They can't lose today. Ron Howard, he jumps in the chat as well on Facebook. He says, I heard Nick Castellanos might be out 2 to 3 weeks. That's not good. It's not good, but keep in mind this team offensively really hasn't been the problem. Right? Like this team offensively, they haven't really been the problem. So they've been the problem 6 games, coming out. They've been shut out twice in 6 games. But I do trust that the Reds can overcome his absence for at least 2 weeks, especially with the schedule easing up. The Cubs are about to blow this roster up. They're about to blow it all up. They have a lot of games with the Cubs. They have games with the Pirates around the corner. They have games with bad teams, a series with bad teams. They can chip away at this. They can handle being without Castellanos for a week or 2. Is it ideal? Absolutely not. But there's enough power in this lineup. Not really necessarily power, but there's enough spark in this lineup to kind of keep the run producing going moving forward for the Reds. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Dayton Flyers fans, we have Kendall Pollard coming up at the top of the hour. All of our TBT coverage here on the Justin Kinner Show is brought to you by Timothy's Bar and Grill. Shout out to Tim's. Anytime we bring up Tim's, it just feels like basketball season, and we're really looking forward to Timothy's Bar and Grill being a part of our Dayton Flyers pregame coverage coming up this upcoming basketball season. So all of our TBT coverage brought to you by Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. So shout out to them. Appreciate our partnership that we have going on with them. But the TBT on WING tips off tomorrow night with Carmen's crew. They'll be tipping off at 9 o'clock. And then on Saturday, I'm super pumped. We got the Red Scare at 3 p.m. at Dayton Flyers basketball on 1410 ESPN Radio. And we're pretty pumped about that. So we'll step away for a few moments. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Orion Sports Medicine. What should the Reds do with the deadline, which comes up a week from tomorrow night? I think that this series with the Cardinals is big. It doesn't just set the tone for this upcoming 2 months of the 21 season. It sets the tone for where the franchise goes over the next 3 years. I'll be back in just a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
cents each, and Crayola 24-count crayons, 2-pocket poly folders, and 4-ounce Elmer's glue are just 50 cents each. So your student won't just be ready for school, there'll be tons of drawings to hang on the fridge ready.
We're going to need a bigger refrigerator.
Visit your local Staples store or staples.com/back-to-school and get amazing prices for everything on your back-to-school list. Ends 9/18, limit 30, notebooks in store only. Offer may vary online.
This is a big deal. Now, at healthcare.gov, millions more people can afford health coverage. Due to the COVID relief law, 4 out of 5 customers can get a plan for under $10 a month with financial help. From doctor visits to preventive services to prescription drugs, these are quality plans. You can do this. You can have coverage as soon as August 1st if you sign up now at healthcare.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Folks, when you feed your dog, does he just stand there and look at you? Make your dog great again with premium foods from Homestead Feed and Supply. If it eats, we can feed it. 1833 North Dayton Lakeview Road, New Carlisle. Tell them the Colonel sent you.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
The Meyer Distribution Center in Tip City is hiring for warehouse positions in all units, which includes flexible schedules, best-in-class benefits, enhanced starting wages, and a $500 signing bonus. Interested candidates should call 937-669-9109 from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., Monday through Friday. Walk-in interviews are strongly encouraged, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Call 937-669-9109 for an interview or apply online at jobs.meyer.com. Meyer is the equal opportunity employer.
Are you involved with a school or charitable fundraiser that holds an auction, bid and buy booth, or a raffle to raise money? Many of the most popular items at auctions or booths are autographed sports memorabilia items. How can you get great items in your event? Call Adam Walter at Sports Investments. Sports Investments has a consignment program for fundraisers that has provided outstanding items. You select items that are proven sellers, including autographed pieces from Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Joey Votto, the Big Red Machine, the Bengals, the Browns, UC, XU, UK, NKU, Dayton, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. Sports Investments consigns the items to your group at a highly discounted price. And when they sell, you keep the profit. You don't pay anything in advance. And if something doesn't sell, you simply return it. You'll enjoy the experience of dealing with the Walter family. Call them at 513-891-5000. Email Adam at sportsinvestments.com or visit them on Montgomery Road, right off I-275, just 40 minutes from WING.
Hey there, it's CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger with an inside track on a company that could save your family over $800 a year on a basic service everyone needs, H2O Wireless. If you're with Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, H2O Wireless gives you the exact same coverage as one of those, but at half the price. That's right, H2O Wireless uses the same network, same towers. You can even keep your phone and number because switching is as easy as swapping a SIM card. Right now, get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data for just $36 a month. And if you want a new phone, H2O Wireless has huge savings on the latest iPhones and Androids. Here's what you need to do. Pick up your phone and dial pound 250 and say keyword get H2O. When you do, you'll save 50% off your first month. Again, dial pound 250 and say keyword get H2O, and your family could start saving over $800 a year today.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
All right, we are back. Justin Kinner hanging out with you here on a Thursday. Kev Nash on vacation. Good for you. We all deserve some time off. I do encourage if you have PTO at your job, that you use it. I don't know why we have to encourage that. See, the problem around here is, though, like, we always have it, and then everyone waits till the end of the year, so we always get warned. Hey, if you have PTO, please use it. We're not going to allow everyone to use their PTO in the entire month of December. And I collect my PTO like Pokemon cards. So I have quite a lot of this to use. I know I'll be heading to Florida in September. I'm looking forward to that. But, man, Big Ten Media Days today. And weird Big Ten Media Day because people were more excited. And I say excited with a not so positive connotation spin on it. They were eager to hear from Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren. That's kind of where we're at with that. Like, everyone was eager to hear from the Big Ten Commissioner. Chris, yeah, my bad. Look, I'm a one-man show today, all right? Usually we have a couple people in here running everything. I'm doing everything by myself, but thank you. Yeah, I didn't realize that was still up. So, Chris, I don't say this often, but good looking out. Big Ten Media Day today, Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren talking with, addressing the media, because keep in mind, you could not reach him last year. Remember last year? I mean, it seemed like he was trying to be the smartest person in the room, and he wanted to cancel the Big Ten season, and just head into 2021. And this is a very interesting conversation to have, because when he addressed the media today, he was asked about what he thought, how he has performed as commissioner of the Big Ten since taking over, which, by the way, not a very good time to take over a conference heading in and trying to navigate through a global pandemic, but that's where he was. Now, this may not be a popular take of mine, but to be honest, for those of you who listen every day, I don't know why you listen to me. Based on all social media feedback I get, I don't even know how I have any listeners. I don't know how I have any ratings. I don't know how I have any support whatsoever, because it seems like every one of you guys just hate every single take I have. So with that, I appreciate that you come back. You guys are like the Justin Kinner Show listeners are like Bengals fans. It's a horrible product, but you guys keep coming back. So, I should be nicer to the Bengals, because I'm basically I have no clue. I just don't get it. But I don't think you guys are going to like my take on this, but hear me out. COVID has now turned into, any opinion you have on COVID, it's political, right? Like, it leads to these political opinions, and people start to take sides one way or another, and it becomes really ugly. We don't trust scientists anymore. We don't trust science, or we find science that backs our take, and then the opposite side will find science that backs their take, and then everyone's like looking around like, okay, well, I'm using science to form my opinion. You say you're using science to form your opinion. Whose science is correct? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a very weird time that we live in right now. Kevin Warren was asked about, his ideas on how he believes he's performed. He says he has no regrets, and he would not change anything over how he has handled things since taking over. So he does not regret trying to cancel the Big Ten season. And that, of course, has led to a bloodbath on social media, people just going after Kevin Warren. I actually have to say I do respect his take on this, because you got to really consider here. Kevin Warren being wrong is a good thing. Kevin Warren not wanting to play during a global pandemic sounds crazy. Or does it? Right? Like, that's the thing. Like, Kevin Warren not wanting to risk the lives of players and young adults somehow made him a bad person. It somehow made you not like him. It somehow made you question his intelligence and question his leadership skills. When honestly, him being wrong is a good thing for me, for you, and for everybody, because him being wrong means that no one died. I shouldn't say nobody, but you know what I mean, like under the athletics umbrella. And I know that there have been some athletes that there was some, there was some athletes who passed due to complications from COVID or without direct links to COVID. Let's just be fair there. So there's that. But Kevin Warren being wrong means that football happened. And you didn't have Big Ten players just passing away left and right? It's a good thing he is wrong. So let's just be clear with that. I am glad Kevin Warren is wrong, and I think he's glad that he was wrong too. Let's just be clear, because for Kevin Warren to want to have been right, players would have had to have had their lives taken during this pandemic for him to say he was right. Folks, why are you mad at him for? Because Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, who moved forward with a full SEC season, moved forward with non-conference games, moved forward with kicking off on time and basically owning the college football landscape for the first month of the season, right? Like, Greg Sankey ends up looking like the smartest man in the room, and everyone's like, oh, man, see, that's why it just means more in the SEC. What if he was wrong, though? What if he was wrong? Like, he's lucky he was right. Like, if Kevin Warren would have been right and Greg Sankey would have been wrong, that means players would have lost their lives. Right? Which side would you rather be on? The side that was right and could have been wrong, and could have been wrong means you could have lost players, or Kevin Warren, who didn't really want a football season because just one life is one life too many. So I'm not trying to get too political, or I don't want to get into a heavy debate with all of you here, but everyone on social media who is just trying to destroy Kevin Warren today, keep in mind, I respect the hell out of him for saying that he wouldn't change a thing. They ended up having a season. He wasn't able to pull the plug on the season the way I think he had intended or wanted to, and there's that. But Kevin Warren getting ripped today by media alike, I don't understand that approach, because for one, media, you're becoming a little bit too fanboyish in your coverage of your team. We're all sports fans. I'm a sports fan. That's the reason I got into sports radio, is because I love sports and I love my Buckeyes. I love my Browns. Yes, I love my Cowboys. I love a lot of different teams out there. I may not be a diehard Dayton Flyers fan, but I don't hate the Dayton Flyers the way some of you like to think I do. I like my Wright State Raiders. I went to Wright State. I graduated from there. I'm very close with a lot of people that work in that department there. But I'm able to separate my fandom when it's time to be critical of a team that you need to be critical of. In media today, they're not good at that. They're not good at that. They are not good at that whatsoever. They are mad because you try to take my football away. Don't take my football. That's basically how every media member approached this with Kevin Warren. Jake Whiting on Facebook says, he went with the information he had. Nothing wrong with that. He did what he thought was right. That's what everyone does, no matter what side they are on. Now, Jake, I appreciate that take from you, because I know that you are an individual, and I don't know you, but just based on following you on social media, and again, Jake's coming at us on Facebook, and you can as well, so Justin Kinner Show on Facebook. I know what side you sit on, which is totally fine, but I don't want this to turn into a political conversation, folks. You just need to ask yourselves, what were you wanting to hear from Kevin Warren today? Were you wanting Kevin Warren to say, I was wrong? Why was he wrong? Kevin Warren he was going with the side of caution. And I don't think that's a bad thing when you're talking about, at that time, with not having a ton of information, not knowing a whole lot about what COVID could be long-term, him trying to pull the plug on the Big Ten season, although not popular. Just because something's not popular doesn't mean that it's wrong. Financially, it would have been wrong, right? And we all know that money talks, and money ended up getting the better of a lot of the major decision makers in a lot of these conferences, especially the conferences that live and die by the almighty dollar. And that's pretty much every Power 5 conference. Every Power 5 conference, they live and die by the almighty dollar. And it doesn't matter what's best for the student athletes. It doesn't matter what's best for the fans. As long as it brings in more of that green, who cares? Who cares? Which is totally fine, because that's how all the jobs that we have, everyone listening who has a job or has had a job or wherever you work, trust me, you are not as valuable to your company as you think you are, because the second that an option comes along that can make them more money than you will be gone. That's how the Big Ten works. That's how every, Power 5 conference works out there, especially. So I'm not anti-Kevin Warren. I respect the fact, I might be the only one today that respects the fact that he addressed the media and said, yeah, I didn't make any mistakes. I I'm fine with the decisions I made. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't get it. So Greg Sankey, SEC commissioner, he looks like a badass, right? Like, oh, man, no, we're going to play through COVID. We're going to put these college athletes at risk. Now, I'm being dramatic, but that's ultimately what he did. Because it's easy to sit here in late July of 2021. Now that we're coming out of this, the pandemic's going nowhere. In fact, it's starting, the new variants are starting to really take off even more, which is a little concerning, right? But it's easy to look back now and say, oh, yeah, Kevin Warren, you should have just, let the season start on time. There would have been less bumps along the way. Now, ultimately, the Big Ten did have a team in the national championship game in Ohio State, which is why it made it even more important to find a way to play last year. But again, at the end of the day, Greg Sankey basically said, I can't prove that nothing will happen to these athletes if they play, but we have to make money, go play. Now, luckily, Greg Sankey, no players died under his watch. Luckily, right? Luckily, because had that happened, and I'm not rooting for that to happen, and this isn't there's a lot of people who wished athletes would have been harmed during this just so they can get their I told you so moment. I don't think anyone deserves to have an I told you so moment here, because Greg Sankey, I don't think it's smart of him to have that I told you so moment, because I think that would be alarming on his part, because he didn't know. He didn't know that you were going to be able to make it through a full season without any harm to athletes whatsoever. Kevin Warren did not know that we could make it through the season and crown a national champion. Kevin Warren didn't know, Sankey didn't know, I didn't know, and I don't care how much Googling you have done and, Google MD and everything else, you didn't know either. There's not a human being out there that would have made the right decision when it comes to how to handle playing college athletics during a global pandemic. The bottom line is Greg Sankey was not right. You may think he's right. He wasn't right to head into a full college football season without all of the information. We have way more information now, so he appears to be right. But you're not right just because you assumed that everything would be okay. And he's lucky everything was okay. And I'm glad he ended up being right, but he wasn't right. He just guessed right? Like, I don't know what to say. But stop ripping Kevin Warren. Stop ripping Kevin Warren. Scott Whetstone on Facebook says, stand behind your decision. It takes guts who say what he said is not politically correct. And Scott, I'm sorry. Some of this is butchered here. Held accountable for it, unlike any of us. So I respect him for what he said. I do understand what you said there at the end, and that's what's most important. You don't have to like Kevin Warren. And I think Kevin Warren and the Big Ten's elites have gotten off on the wrong foot because COVID was a part of his biggest decisions that he had to make since taking over as commissioner. We don't really know who he is as a commissioner yet. To base it off of a global pandemic that we shouldn't, put all on him right now. Come on. But no, we're always looking for a point person to point our anger and rage towards. Okay. And that's kind of where I feel like we're all at. It's lazy of you guys to hate him for that. He was not wrong for wanting to cancel the season. Okay. He was not wrong for that. Because if his idea was, we just don't know, it's not worth risking lives. Okay, cool. You don't have to like it. But he would have been right to do so. But I'm glad he did not, I'm glad he didn't go up on that podium today and say, oh yeah, I was wrong. Obviously I was wrong. We got a full season in. I was wrong for wanting to cancel the. No, you want him to say he was wrong for wanting to protect young adults? You know why I respect what he was willing to do is because he knew all the money that they would potentially lose if they canceled the season. And he was willing to move forward anyways, because he truly did value the lives and the protection of players ahead of the almighty dollar. To where Greg Sankey, the SEC, it just means more here. He's lucky he was right. He's lucky that they got a season in. He's lucky that no players died, because the almighty SEC dollar wouldn't be so hot. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Just a reminder, Kendall Pollard, former Dayton Flyer, going to be joining us top of the 4 o'clock hour. We'll talk all things TBT on WING. The Red Scare going to be in action on Saturday at 3 o'clock right here on 1410 Wing. Just a reminder that all TBT coverage is brought to you by Timothy's Bar and Grill. We'll step away for a few moments for the Justin Kinner Show when we come back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Tired of deciding what to cook tonight? Frickers is ready when you are with everyone's favorite ribs and frickin' chicken chunks. Tender baby back ribs and frickin' chicken chunks, only $12.99 dine-in only. Take the day off as kids 10 and under eat free every day. And you can relax and let Frickers take care of everything. Baby back ribs, frickin' chicken chunks, and kids eat free at the one place that makes lunch, dinner, or late night easy. The home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Baby back. Baby back.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get in on the action. Well, no more, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide, with plans starting at just $35 a month with no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Trade pros. Whether you specialize in service or new construction, Ferguson knows firsthand how much work goes into a long day on the job, which is why we're committed to offering the products and solutions to get every job done right. With over 1,000 locations, an unmatched selection of specialty products, tools, and supplies, our pro pickup and same or next day delivery, you can trust that doing business with Ferguson will be the easiest part of your hard day's work. Visit Ferguson.com to find a counter location near you.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus, home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well, medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Don't wait to get a new job. Express Employment Professionals is hiring for more than 35,000 jobs. Find your local Express office at expresspros.com or on the Express Jobs app.
The Reds are on the radio. Every hit, every strikeout, every Reds victory. You can catch all of the action all season long right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
All right, we welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show without Kev Nash. He's out on vacation, but the show brought to you by Orion Sports Medicine. So, again, Big Ten Media Days today, and, of course, the big talk has been about Kevin Warren finally addressing the media, right? Like, because he kind of ghosted everyone last year. And let's be clear, I'm not very critical of Kevin Warren because I don't believe that, any of us would have handled that situation better. And just because you would have made a different decision doesn't mean that you necessarily would have handled it better. If a commissioner would have said, okay, we're going to start the season on time, play non-conference games, and start on time, that doesn't mean that commissioner would have handled that situation better. It just means that they would have handled it the way you liked. And that's how we do things around here. Like, we think if we go to a restaurant, we don't like the food, we think that restaurant's bad, even though, keep in mind, there's like billions and billions of people in the world and everyone has different tastes. But because you don't like their cheeseburger, you think it's a bad restaurant, right? Radio host. Now, I could be bad for a lot of reasons as a sports radio host, but a lot of people will tell a radio host or a media personality that they don't have opinions I like, so they're horrible at their job. That's a weird thing to say. Like, if, Kinner's voice is annoying, he repeats himself too much, he talks about the same damn things every single day. If you don't like me for those reasons, those are valid. You could say those. But if you don't like me, if I'm a crappy radio host because I don't say that a bad Bengals team is good, I think you have issues that you need to fix for yourself. That's more of a you problem than a me problem. This idea that in society today that people need to tell us what we want to hear, or you are a horrible person, I think that's ridiculous. I think everyone should be able to feel and say, within reason, of course, I'm not saying you could say anything offensive. I'm just saying we should all be able to feel what we want without having to right away have to fight off name calling and everything else that comes with it. Now, I'm a child. I'm just as guilty of that as anyone. I'm not doing this holier than thou act as if, I'm this guy that, definitely knows how to have a conversation with someone without getting into a heated debate. I love debates. That's how I do this. But as far as I'm concerned, Kevin Warren today saying that he did nothing wrong, that he wouldn't change how he handled anything. Good for him. Good for him. Because everyone out there that thinks he handled that poorly, I don't think that there's a template of how to handle that properly. How can you get something wrong that there's nothing to compare it to? Well, the SEC, they started on time. They had non-conference. They had fans. Yada. Who's to say that they were right? And we might find out, depending on how these vaccines work. God knows, what if there's some kind of long, existing condition after, let's say months. It takes months after the vaccine for something to happen. Who's to say at the end of the day that the SEC got this correctly as far as how they approached last season? So I don't want to get too deep into the political side of that, but let's keep in mind, there was no right or wrong way to handle that last year. There was different ways to handle it. But I don't think there was a right or way. There was a right or wrong way by any means. Now we're live on Facebook. Andrew on Facebook. He says, Kenner, my issue with Kevin Warren, again, for those just tuning in, Kevin Warren, the Big Ten commissioner. Andrew says, Kenner, my issue with Kevin Warren is the hypocrisy. He supported canceling the season, but then decided to allow his son to play at Mississippi State. How can you stand behind one thing but decide another? Doesn't make sense to me. I have no clue what world people live in that they think that even if and I don't even think he wanted his son to play. Who is Kevin Warren? The same people that are like, the kids should decide. These are adults, right? Like that. I remember it to a T. Last year at this time, every one of you were saying these kids should get to decide if they want to play or not. They should decide if they want to play or not. Then those same people turned around and said, Kevin Warren should make the decision for him because he's making the decision for everybody else. He's making the decision for the conference. And he's doing what's best for him because let's put it this way. It was damned if you do, damned if you don't. And you got to look at both bad outcomes of your decisions and decide which bad outcome can I sleep with better at night. And the bad outcome of, okay, we cancel the season and lose a lot of money and nobody dies. I could sleep with that and lose my job. Or I could be selfish and say, we got to make that money. We got to make that money. Who cares about the health of the players? Approach the season, play the full season, have players die. How are you going to sleep at night with that? It's really what it comes down to is there was no right way to handle that last year because nobody knew what the outcome was going to be. There was no blueprint for how to navigate through a COVID-19 pandemic, right? So there was no wrong way to handle it. There was just a non-popular way. Kevin Warren could not tell his son he couldn't play. Why do you guys think that? These are grown adults. Why do you think that? Even if Kevin Warren didn't want him to play, what was he going to do? Ground him? Go to your room, young man? No dessert until you put those football pads away. That's it. You're mowing the grass you're mowing the grass all summer. That's your punishment. You can't hang out give me your cell phone. If you play football, I'm taking your cell phone. What are you talking about? That doesn't make him a hypocrite. And who's to say how do you know what conversations did or did not happen behind closed doors when it comes to the decision that Kevin Warren's son made to play at Mississippi State? You know why Kevin Warren's son got to play football at Mississippi State? Because he played for an SEC school. Kevin Warren didn't get to make decisions on the SEC schools. Look, I'm not trying to get into a heated back and forth with everybody on this. All I'm saying is you should be very, very happy that Kevin Warren was wrong. Because if you, for you to say, you're lucky that if Kevin Warren ended up being right, that's a bad thing for me, you, and everybody in this world, because that means kids died. That means young adults died for the almighty dollar. That I would have a problem with. Jake Whiting says, yeah, a lot of people don't like Kenner and talk a lot of crap. And I'm always like, why? Because, look, I don't need the ego boost here. I appreciate that, Jake. I always like that. But I tell you what, 457-9464. I'm a one-man show today, okay? So when we do step away for a few coming up here, we're going to take calls. I'm excited to chat with Kendall Pollard, former Dayton Flyer, here at 4 o'clock. Really pumped about that. He's one of my favorite Flyers. I can't wait to talk with him. So we'll get to that. We'll get to a more positive conversation as far as that goes. There's a lot to take away from Big Ten Media Days. I don't want it all just to be about Kevin Warren, but that was the big takeaway I had today. Good for Kevin Warren for sticking to his guns and saying, yeah, I wanted to change the thing. He did attempt to pull the plug on the season. He believed that's what would have been best. Obviously, had to take a left turn and then a right turn and zigzags and all that. This is not a conversation necessarily about your views on COVID or anything. This is about put yourself in his shoes. Everyone acts like it's an easy decision. Let him play. It's not that easy of a decision. There were so many potential lawsuits. There were so many potential things that could have gone wrong that I don't care what anybody says. The SEC and college football as a whole is lucky that they weren't right, but they're lucky that they ended up not being accountable or having to be in a position to be held accountable for a bad outcome, because there's not a right way to handle this. They're just lucky that they made it through. That's all. That's all I got to say about that. And again, we'll touch more on that coming up around the corner. Interestingly enough, coming up in hour 2, I'm going to tell you why the Nick Castellanos injury actually could be a blessing in disguise for the Cincinnati Reds. We'll get to that around the corner. Plus, the one thing I'm also interested in for the Cincinnati Reds is this bullpen situation, a big 3-game stretch coming up around the corner for your Redlegs. I'm really, really interested to see how they respond after a day off. I think today's day off is huge for your Reds. Now, I said I wanted to get to that in hour 2. I don't mind jumping into that part right here. But real quick, another Facebook jump in. Chris Brown on Facebook. That's Chris Brown with a K. Chris Brown says, hindsight being 2020, we can all sit and say some things should have been different. But, him being smart enough to realize that if someone would have died from it, the black eye on the conference would have been worse than same lost revenue. Chris, thank you. You worded that better than I did. I appreciate that. Like I said, Kevin Warren, no matter what decision he made, there was going to be a lot that he had to answer to. He either, and the same thing for the SEC. Now, a champion was crowned. The SEC crowned the champion. The Big Ten, who didn't necessarily want to, jump into the deep end playing during COVID, they had a team in the national championship game as well. They bent some rules along the way to get the Ohio State Buckeyes, who did not meet the amount, they didn't meet the game criteria as far as total games played to even be eligible for the Big Ten championship game. They adjusted the rules to let Ohio State in. They benefited from it. They benefited greatly from having a team in the national championship. So there you go. Keith Tolliver, Warren was right, not that beeping hard. I guess what I'm saying, man, I'm not saying anyone's right. I'm just saying nobody was wrong. I don't know how else to word that. I know what you're saying, Keith, as far as that goes. So there you go. All right, let's switch gears here. I don't want to talk about it. That's too much negativity. I could feel the room tensing up, and I don't even have people in here with me. I could feel that people are getting a little agitated. So let's just switch gears here. I was saving this for the next hour, but let's jump on it now quickly before we get to Kendall Pollard here, top of the hour. This Nick Castellanos injury could be a blessing in disguise. Okay, it's a blessing in disguise for many reasons. For one, if the Reds would have continued to overcome the defensive deficiencies at no shortstop, if they would have continued to overcome those issues with high, high offensive efficiency, the Reds may not be. I think the Reds could end up being pretty aggressive at this upcoming deadline if they choose to go that route, not just for pitching. There's a reason. Like the one reason I feel like the Reds they're not sitting on their hands as much as people are giving them credit for, is because there's a reason that the Reds' name kept being rumored for Trevor Story. Now, why would you add Trevor Story? You have enough offense, right? Well, keep in mind, not every move that is being made is to help the team offensively. They're I think they're like the second most efficient offense as far as runs produced in Major League Baseball. So Trevor Story addresses a couple issues, but man, can you imagine if the Reds end up getting Trevor Story? I do believe that the Nick Castellanos injury could end up forcing the hand of the Castellinis as the trade deadline's coming up. Because I brought up the fact that, do they need Trevor Story? They need a shortstop, but they're also very close to calling up one of their premier prospects who also plays shortstop in the near future. So the Reds don't need Trevor Story, but the Reds might need Trevor Story if one of their premier bat swingers is all of a sudden on the shelf for, 2-3 weeks, maybe even up to a month in Nick Castellanos. So the urgency to get Trevor Story may not have been there had Nick Castellanos not got hurt. That's why this series with the Cards is so big. If the Reds starting pitching can at least get past the 6th inning, if the bullpen can, not bleed as much, right? If the Reds can produce some runs, if the Reds showed that they have fight left in them in this series with the Cardinals, it puts the pressure right back on ownership. They cannot drop 2 or 3. They cannot get swept. They cannot be embarrassed. They can't be shut out. They have to go show ownership that we are this close. And I actually believe that they were this close. For those watching, you could see me doing the this close little hand signal. This close. I believe that they were this close to being division winners in that first half based on what we saw. Now, I think that they are this far away. My hands are so far apart that they don't even make it in the camera here. I believe that they are so far away from being contenders based on what I've seen in 6 games. But I would like to believe that the sample size of the first 48 wins that we saw in the first 9, I think the sample size of the first 90 games should still stick in the heads of ownership more than the first 6 games of the second half. So, again, I'm a negative person, but I'm trying to put a positive spin on this. Nick Castellanos being out for 2 to 3 weeks, and that's without official word from the Reds. At least I have yet to see an official word from the Reds as far as how long he could be out. There's reports circulating that it could be up to 2 to 3 weeks. And we all know that, okay, he's out for 3 weeks. It might be another week or 2 by the time he's back in the lineup before he gets back in a groove. Trevor Story addresses that issue right there. He addresses that issue because it gives him someone else more flexible in the middle infield. You also got Mike Moustakas coming back. So now you get Moustakas' bats back. You get Trevor Story's bat and his defense in that lineup and out on the field. And then when you get Nick Castellanos back, now you have Moustakas. Now you have Trevor Story. Now you have Castellanos. Now you have Jesse Winker. And I'm tired of doing the whole will Eugenio Suarez hit out of his slump thing. But what if that happens? Joey Votto, I can't say enough about Votto, guys. Like, I'm the first to bash. I mean, Schlemmer, when I worked with him, loved the guy. Schlemmer got me hooked on bashing Joey Votto. And he was right, because that Joey Votto wasn't good. But this Joey Votto has been very, very good. And when Joey Votto's hitting the ball the way he is, when Suarez is hitting the ball the way he's capable of, hopefully there's something still there. If we can get 2.5 months, actually, let's get 3.5 months. If we can get 3.5 months of Suarez and what we're accustomed to seeing, if we can get Votto to keep on this pace, and you add a Trevor Story, you got Moustakas coming back, Castellanos comes back in 3 weeks, you have Jesse Winker, I think you got something here. Tyler Naquin's been fantastic. He's been great. You have right now in Jonathan India, like I've been negative for 2 days. I'm flipping the positivity switch right now. There is so much going for this team that I have a hard time believing that the ownership can look at it and blow it up. You waited a long time to develop Jonathan India. He's here. You waited a long time for Jesse Winker to emerge. He's here. You have Nick Castellanos. Sign him, extend him, keep him. He brings a personality to this team. He gives them an identity. He gives them a toughness. He gives them some sense of an identity that teams know what they're dealing with whenever they come into Great American Ballpark or welcome in the Reds. It's time for the Reds to lay a foundation and stop always being, searching for the next big thing. They're lucky that they've developed India. They're lucky that Winker turned into the starting left fielder in the National League. Good for him. They're lucky that Votto has kind of reverted back to his old self and not continued down the old Joey Votto path, right? Strike while the iron's hot. It doesn't hurt to lay down a big contract for Castellanos, because let's say if the Reds want to hit the reset button in a year and a half, you move on from the big contract. It's Major League Baseball. Every year you're going to watch in 10 days, 9 days, 8 days, whatever the hell the date is, that there is plenty of teams who are going to take on bad contracts because they're desperate to add a piece to go on a big run heading into the playoffs. The Reds need to sign Castellanos, give him that big deal, get Trevor Story, get him paid. And if it doesn't work out, and within the next year and a half, if they're not going anywhere and they're just running in place, you can move on from those contracts. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. My guy, Kendall Pollard, former Dayton Flyer, one of my favorite Dayton Flyers, is going to hang out with us coming up here on the other side of this break as we head into hour number 2. The TBT on WING tips off tomorrow night, 9 p.m. with Carmen's crew at the Covelli Center in Columbus. Really excited about that. There's going to be that home court feel for them. I'm jacked about that. I haven't been to a live sporting event with that true home court feel yet. I'm pretty jacked about that. And I'm hoping that the Red Scare can make a significant run at the Covelli to get to UD Arena for Championship Week, July 31st through August 3rd. And the path to that starts on Saturday at 3 p.m. Let's talk a little TBT with Kendall Pollard. Just a reminder, all TBT coverage here on 1410 Wing AM is brought to you by Timothy's Bar and Grill. Kendall Pollard, former Flyer, TBT power forward for the Red Scare, joins us next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get in on the action. Well, no more, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide, with plans starting at just $35 a month with no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Trade pros. Whether you specialize in service or new construction, Ferguson knows firsthand how much work goes into a long day on the job, which is why we're committed to offering the products and solutions to get every job done right. With over 1,000 locations, an unmatched selection of specialty products, tools, and supplies, our pro pickup and same or next day delivery, you can trust that doing business with Ferguson will be the easiest part of your hard day's work. Visit Ferguson.com to find a counter location near you.
When you're ready to buy something, the first thing you do is go online. But buying a home is different. You've got loan applications, pre-approvals, competing offers, the list goes on. That's where a Realtor comes in. Realtors have expertise and local knowledge to give you a competitive edge that a search bar just can't. And in today's market, an edge is what you need. So when you're ready to buy a home, the first thing to do is make sure you have an agent who's a Realtor. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
So I still can't get over how much I saved at Kohl's. I did a double take when I saw my receipt. The home sale deals are just that great. I got 20% off a Keurig coffee maker, 40% off cute throw pillows, and a Bissell carpet cleaner for $249.99. I even got an extra 15% off and picked up Kohl's cash. So yeah, you know the saying home sweet home? More like Kohl's sweet Kohl's. Select styles, 15% offer ends July 25th. Some exclusions apply. See store at Kohl's.com for details.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Don't wait to get a new job. Express Employment Professionals is hiring for more than 35,000 jobs. Find your local Express office at expresspros.com or on the Express Jobs app.
Want free Reds tickets? How about a free MLB Network Reds bag? Maybe a Reds bobblehead? Here's an idea. How about we combine them all together and give you a chance to win a free WING Reds prize pack presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Register daily at wingam.com. WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, we welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Happy Thursday. The TBT on WING. Just a reminder that we will be carrying every Red Scare and Carmen's Crew game right here on 1410 Wing AM. We'll kick it off tomorrow night, Friday night at 9 p.m. It'll be a late tip, but it'll be Carmen's Crew, Ohio State's alumni team, tipping things off for us here on 1410 Wing AM. And then the one we're all excited for, the Red Scare, Saturday at 3 p.m. And I'm excited to bring on a former Dayton Flyer who you'll have a chance to see play this coming Saturday. We have former Flyer Kendall Pollard. Kendall, you're one of my all-time favorite Flyers, man. I appreciate you hanging out with us today. How are you?
I'm good. Appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, listen, so, in prepping for this, I'm thinking like, oh, that Elite Eight run was just a few years ago, right? But like a lot's happened, man. Like since that run, I mean, of course, since that run, you guys had a couple more tournament runs after that. You guys were eliminated by Wichita State to end your Flyer career. Archie takes the Indiana job. Archie loses the Indiana job. Anthony Grant's hired. Anthony Grant gets one of the top recruiting classes in the country for this upcoming up season. Kostas Antetokounmpo is drafted, and he's won a damn NBA championship since then. COVID happened. Obi Toppin's been drafted. They were ranked number 3 in the country at one point. That's a lot that's happened since your career with the Flyers had come to an end, man. You have to feel old, right?
Yeah, pretty old, man. This is my 4th year post-grad. We was just talking about that with a lot of the players on the team. I don't know if you remember Brandon Spearman, but he was here. We went to high school together in Chicago, and we came up here for the tournament. He's also playing with us. And he said this is his 10th year since he's been on campus. And I was like, wow, man. For me, it's 4. Trey, not so many. Dale Davis, maybe 3. I'm 1 year older than Dale. So, yeah, a lot of us feeling old. We're going to go watch the current team practice today or, work out today. So, yeah, feeling pretty old, but I get a nostalgic feeling coming back to campus and riding past the arena and stuff like that. So, I miss this place, man.
Yeah, no doubt. I couldn't agree more with you on that. Now, listen, it's what's interesting about all this is to us, it's no secret in this city how special the University of Dayton is, especially when it comes to athletics and especially, the basketball program. But you're from Chicago. What was your familiarity with the Dayton Flyers program before you were recruited by Archie? When did you fall in love with the Dayton Flyers program being all the way in Chicago? What was that like going all the way back to when Archie was here?
That's a great question. I've never been asked that question before. So let me give you a little background. I wasn't heavily recruited to start out, but Brandon Spearman, the guy that I just told you about, we went to high school together. He was a senior. I was a freshman. And he went to Dayton. So my, junior year or sophomore year in high school, we came up to Flying to the Hoop to watch him play at Xavier. And I just seen the atmosphere at Xavier. It was crazy, man. But, we also had fans there. And the atmosphere was crazy. So I really wasn't familiar with Dayton, but besides that, it was a good mid-major school. And then when he went, it gave the city and the school a little more credibility because I didn't know anything about the school. So just he was our best player my freshman year on our varsity team. So just seeing him come here, it just opened up a whole new, it opened my eyes to Dayton. And then I was at a tournament in D.C. Not a tournament, like a camp. Me, Spooch, and Kyle was there, actually. And I played really good, man. And then when I got back to my hotel, I think it was like my sophomore. It was my junior year. And a guy who was handling my recruitment said, Dayton's going to call you in a minute. So usually when he say that means they're about to off you. So I think I spoke with Coach Tom Ostrom for a little, and then he put Archie on the phone, and Arch offered me the scholarship. And I was just so excited because that was like the best offer that I had in my eyes. I had like UIC, a couple Bradley, a couple small schools, and then up to Dayton is a small mid-major school. But to me, it was like a big school. So I was just really excited. And then when I came on my visit, I seen that we had D. Sanford from Georgetown, Seibert from Ohio State, and I seen the guys that was out there, and I was like, man, we could really do something special. And they wasn't even that good the year before I came. They was like, I think one game over or under 500. So really, me, Cal, and Scooch had to really buy in because nobody wants to go to a school who's bad, No. But we looked at it as like, we're going to be a group to turn it around. And that's what happened.
No kidding. No. When you said, your goal was to turn it around, did you ever imagine? I mean, look, let's be real. You talked about, you're, from Chicago, you look at Dayton, at that time without a lot of familiarity with it. That's a smaller mid-major program. And usually when you're trying to turn things around at a smaller mid-major program, making the NCAA tournament, maybe getting a win is kind of the idea of turning it around, right? There's not a lot of expectations to go on tournament runs. And yet, all of you guys were, 40 minutes from a potential Final Four appearance. I mean, that has to just make that whole experience looking back at your career so surreal, thinking about being a part of where they were before you got there and the reputation of the program on top of its history after you left.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, Justin, like, me coming from the school that I was coming from, we was like the best school in the country 2-3 years in a row. So me coming to Dayton, the past history was like white, it was like a clean slate. I wasn't thinking about that when I got in. So it was expected, to be honest with you. I expected to go to the tournament. Now, to win that many games was not so much. But once I seen how good of a team we had and the teams that we was competing against early in the year, like Gonzaga, California, Baylor, we was right there toe-to-toe with those guys. We beat Gonzaga. We beat California. Lost to Baylor by 2. And those teams were top. Well, not California, but Baylor and Gonzaga was like top 5, top 10 schools. So, it was expected to go to the tournament. And we got in, and the rest is history.
History indeed. And it really, again, I always like, we know the history of the Dayton Flyers program. It's not like it was new to the fan base to watch a team go on that, run in the tournament, but it was quite refreshing seeing the program return, to its roots a bit, and the expectations of the program changed ever since. A couple things here, and then we'll get into looking ahead to your TBT matchup coming up on Saturday. But like when you walked off the floor for the final time and, with Kyle Davis and Scoochie and those guys, such a historic class. When you walked off the floor, did you ever imagine, I know you've played in a TBT with these guys since then, not Scoochie, of course, but did you ever think walking off the floor in Indianapolis in the NCAA tournament after that crushing loss to Wichita State, did you ever think that you'd be able to put on a Dayton Flyers themed jersey in general and play alongside these guys? Did you ever think that was a possibility?
No, never. That's why this is so special to reconnect with the guys every summer and, just hang out like right now, the week leading up to the tournament. Special moments, like I tell them all the time, like I miss y'all, like just hanging out with y'all. So I never thought that maybe come back and be some type of coach or something one day or, whatever, but never actually playing with these guys again.
Playing with these guys is one thing, man, but damn, you guys have a chance to play at UD Arena, and that's what's unique. I even think about like guys like Ryan Mikesell and Trey Landers, who their last game ever as a Flyer, like your last game ever as a Flyer was in Indianapolis in the NCAA tournament. Trey Landers, Ryan Mikesell, they were headed as the number 3 team, a potential 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Their last game was on the day, the day the game day was in town. It was such a special feeling in the city. That's the last time they played there. Them, yourself, you guys never thought you'd play at UD Arena again. You guys have a chance this year. How much of a driving motivation is that to take care of business at the Covelli in Columbus and punch your ticket to the quarter round at UD Arena?
Yeah, it's really motivating. Like, man, already Columbus will be crazy because we're so close. But imagine if we come back to UD Arena and we met a couple other supporters yesterday at Milano's and we had dinner. And they was just all saying, like, I can't wait till you come back. And we coming up to Columbus, but we want you to get back to UD Arena. But, man, I told a couple of them, like, I played a tournament game in the arena when we was in the first 4. And it was crazy. Like, we couldn't even hear ourselves. Like, we was using hand signals to call plays. It was so loud. It might not get to that, but it will still be crazy. And we have to get back here. And not only get back here, but win it all. Host the trophy at the end.
Yeah, how special would that be again? And, even as a whole, if you think for Dayton Flyers fans, there hasn't been 13,000 fans in that arena. I'm not saying that's how many people will be there for the TBT, but it wouldn't surprise me. We haven't seen UD Arena packed since game day was in town due to COVID. So this could be a very special opportunity and a special run. I'm looking forward to it. I want to get your thoughts on this, Kendall, before we let you go. I mentioned Archie Miller earlier, and, we know he was a part of that special run with you guys, to the Elite Eight and those tournament appearances after. I don't like when, if a coaching situation doesn't work out with the program, it doesn't mean the coach is bad. We know how good of a coach Archie Miller is. Were you surprised it didn't work at Indiana, though? Were you surprised that didn't work?
Yeah, I was very surprised because, like you say, he's a great coach with a great, phenomenal supporting cast around him. It's just the Big Ten is just really, really competitive. And, like, he had and I think Indiana only gave him like 4. But in the Big Ten, it's tough because everybody's recruiting the same players, the same Midwest players. He didn't have, I don't know, man. He couldn't land the top recruits, I guess. So, yeah, I was very surprised because he has a really good system and he can coach his ass off, man. So I was really surprised that. But not this year, but the last year, I believe they would have went to the tournament. Mm-hmm. But, COVID happened and him not having a tournament appearance on his resume in Indiana, I think that really hurt him.
Yeah, definitely. We got Kendall Pollard, former Dayton Flyer, with us. The Red Scare will be in action on Saturday at 3 p.m. The TBT on WING. You can catch it right here on 1410 Wing AM. Kendall, I can't wait to call that game on Saturday. Former Flyer Norm Greavy and I are going to be on the call for that. We did the calls remotely last year. I know you were on the team last year, and we're so glad to be out of the studio calling it and to be live in front of fans. That's going to be so exciting. I bet you're jacked as well.
Yes, sir. I can't wait to see you there and the rest of the supporters to come out and watch us play.
All right, man. You guys kick ass. Best of luck. Thanks for your time today. Take care.
Appreciate it, man. You do the same.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 82. Tonight will also be partly cloudy, a low near 62. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, a high near 85. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces at your home, office, or commercial property. Introducing infrared patching, a new technology for your property. This service and more at culletsealcoating.com.
For the ones who know that a little late is always too late, and that the clock doesn't stop just because you're missing a part, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry. And our Keep Stock Inventory Management solutions help ensure you have the right stuff in the right place at exactly the right time. Visit Grainger.com/keepstock to learn more. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
O'Reilly. When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. We offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. We'll even bring it out curbside. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It may be hot right now, but Rural King can help you beat the heat during the dog days of summer. With fans to cool you off, hoses to help keep your lawn and plants looking their best, and driveway sealer for that last summer project. And if you're ahead of schedule on your projects, you can get started on fall by pre-booking wood pellets and stocking up on bedding. Get everything you need for your last summer projects and get started on your fall ones at Rural King, America's farm and home store.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Now at Menards, save big money on your next project with 11% off everything. Elevate the look of your home with 6 complimenting finishes of Schlage lock sets. Right now, save 11% on all Schlage Passage, Privacy, Entry lock sets, and deadbolts. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through July 24th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
From the beginning, they were applauded. The music that sold over 100 million records. Chicago, July 27th, Rose Music Center at the Heights.
Make me smile.
The music of Chicago.
Does everybody really know what time it is?
Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com and the Rose Music Center box office.
54624.
Chicago.
Get savings on Pro Essentials at the Lowe's Just for Pros event going on now. Save on select appliance special values. Plus, save an additional $50 when you buy 2 or more appliances, each price $396 or more. Find more savings throughout the store at Lowe's, the new home for pros. Must ask cashier to apply discount in store. Online must use promo code. Can't be combined with any other discounts. See Lowe's.com for exclusions and terms. Valid 7/15 through 8/4. U.S. only.
What makes the perfect workout? Being able to ride, lift, and stretch in one place with motivating instructors.
Y'all look so good out there, Peloton.
Classes that always work around your busy summer schedule.
Push, Peloton. You've got 20 minutes of opportunity on this ride.
Instructor-curated playlists for every mood.
Let's turn it up. Come on.
Now what if you had it all? Right at home. The Peloton Bike. Nothing like working out from home. Visit onepeloton.com to learn more.
If the pandemic's taught us anything, it's that the easiest way for germs to get into your body is the nose. Navage uses powered suction to flush out allergens, mucus, and germs that cause congestion, colds, and flu, so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and feel healthier. Experience Navage at zero risk. Go to Navage.com, buy Navage, and use it for a month. If you're not delighted, return it for a full refund. There's nothing to lose and a lifetime of better breathing to gain. Navage, Navhee.
Attorney Joe Cordell. For many men, divorce brings a bewildering sense of loss. You feel adrift, isolated, like you're the only person in the world. But the good news is, you're not alone. Cordell & Cordell is here to help. For more than 30 years, Cordell & Cordell has been there to guide men through all aspects of divorce. And we'll be there for you.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Dayton area attorneys. 2689 Commons Boulevard, Suite 100, Beaver Creek, Ohio, 45431.
Everything you want to hear is on Audible. Stream the bestsellers and the newest hot releases, and stream originals and podcasts too. Sign up for a free trial at audible.com.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. How about Kendall Pollard? Good stuff there. Appreciate him taking time and hanging out with us again as they get prepped for the TBT, which will tip off for the Flyers coming up this Saturday, 3 p.m. at the Cavelli Center in Columbus. All hopes are, of course, to continue to win and advance to get to the quarterfinal round, which will begin in championship week at UD Arena, July 31st through August 3rd. We welcome you back. I'm Justin Kinner, hanging out with you here on Thursday. No Kev Nash today. Kev Nash going to be out till mid next week. He's taking some time off, so you're stuck with me for the rest of the week and part of next week as well. So, whatever. That's on you. You're the one tuning in, which we appreciate. So, again, we welcome you back. I talked about the Big Ten Media Days earlier. Lots to take away from there. Kevin Warren was kind of the headline today with him admitting that, he doesn't have no regrets as far as how he handled last year during that pandemic and trying to ultimately say, hey, we're not going to play. And they ended up playing very tough season to watch. A lot of games got postponed, got moved. You changed rules as you went to get the Buckeyes in the Big Ten title game because you knew they had a chance to get to the championship game. They did. Ultimately, that's all you can hang your head on. You say, well, what was a bad situation? We made the best of it. And if you make the best of a bad situation and it ends up with one of your top teams in the national championship game, I think the Big Ten still came out on top despite Kevin Warren's decision that not a lot of people liked. But the NFL now is kind of getting a lot of negative attention because what they are doing actually makes a lot of sense. I have no clue why people are getting so angry at the NFL for doing what all of our companies do. I have no clue why athletes think that they should be able to have special privileges that us normal people don't get. They get to experience, like they act like the athletes live on this island. They think they live on this island, that things happen to them that don't happen to us normal people. Now, there are a lot of things that athletes, professional athletes, and celebrities get to experience that us normal people do not get to experience. But at the same time, it is funny when they do face any kind of adversity that we as normal people face every day. It's funny watching them crumble a little bit. They don't like it. They've been told since they were in 6th grade that they are God's gift to earth and that there's no rule, like rules can be bent for them. And then when rules are put in front of them and they are strictly enforced, their whole world gets tossed upside down. They don't know how to handle it. They don't like it. I'm not making light of this COVID vaccine conversation that we're about to have that's stemming from the NFL, but I want to dive into this. So Kevin Seifert with ESPN released an article about 2:30, a little bit before we went on the air today, that the NFL has added an additional COVID-19 vaccination incentive for players, threatening forfeits for the loss of game checks if an outbreak among unvaccinated players causes an unresolvable disruption in the regular season schedule. So we talked about this. Kevin and I did yesterday, earlier in the week and during the SEC media days. You had the SEC commissioner had come out and said he was really trying to push the urgency of getting vaccinated, that it's, the teams need to be, doing a good, better job of really urging and educating the kids on the importance of getting vaccinated. And he said that because of that because there is a solution to this pandemic, and that solution is the vaccine, the best way to get through all of this is to get vaccinated, right? So what he had said was, talking about, the SEC commissioner, was that if a team ends up falling below the needed threshold of players to play in a game, they have to forfeit. If it's COVID related, they have to forfeit. Only if the team does not meet the certain percent threshold. And I believe it's about 85%. I don't know what the threshold is for the NFL. But the NFL is following the same suit here, basically saying everyone needs to get vaccinated. If you don't get vaccinated, you're going to have to stick to a lot of the COVID protocols that were put in place last year. The masks, the being tested regularly. If you test positive, you have to go into quarantine. You have to be isolated from the team. And it can create a lot of disruptions throughout the season. So I've talked about this a lot. I felt that sports were going to go down a path of telling athletes that to play our sport, you have to be vaccinated. Everyone said, oh, no, that's unconstitutional. There's no way that you can force people to put something in their bodies. And the NFL, as well as most conferences in college football and athletics across the board, have said, you know what? I agree. We cannot force you to put something in your bodies. We're not going to, but we're going to make your life hell if you don't. We're going to make your life hell if you don't. That's what the NFL is basically saying. Commissioner Roger Goodell informed the clubs of the new policy Thursday in a memo. The league has encouraged vaccination for players, but has not required it per an agreement with the NFL Players Association. Look, we were all, as kids growing up, we were all told, hey, Mom, Dad, I'd love to go out. The guys invited me out this week, and we want to go out for some pizzas after the game on Friday. Okay, but you got to clean your room first. What? You got to clean. If you clean your room, you can go. But if you don't clean your room, you're grounded. You can't go. It's really basic, simple. Just follow the rules. I know we don't like to be told what to do. The one thing that we have kind of shifted away from over this last year has been, don't tell me what to do. You can't tell me what to do. Oh, but I get why you're telling me what to do because you're the authority figure, but you're hurting my feelings while telling me what to do. So now the person telling you what to do is wrong. That's not what this is. You can have a lot of reasons in the world why you don't want to get vaccinated. And the companies can still look at you and say, well, we're not telling you have to get vaccinated, but your job's going to be a lot more difficult if you don't. And that's what the NFL is doing here. So instead, the league has set up a series of incentives. The NFL, Goodell wrote, more than 75% of NFL players were at least partially vaccinated, and more than half of the league's teams have player vaccination rates above 80%. Now, that may sound like a lot, half the teams, but that means half your league has not surpassed that 80% threshold as far as vaccinations are concerned. Unvaccinated players will be subject to severe protocols during training camp and the regular season, including daily testing, mask wearing, and travel restrictions. Thursday's memo made it clear that unvaccinated players could, in theory, be responsible for the losses of games and paychecks as well. The new policy drills down a scenario, that never occurred in 2020 when the NFL postponed 5 games and moved 10 others to accommodate outbreaks. A forfeit will be called in 21 if all of the following circumstances occur. So if you remember last year, there were some teams, I think the Ravens, if I'm not mistaken, played 3 games in 10 days, or was it the Steelers? Help me out in the comments section, folks. I can't remember which team it was. There was a team a year ago that did have to play like 3 games in 10 days because of the way that, they had a Thursday night game, a Monday night game, and then they played on Sunday the following week. So they had Thursday night football. A game that was postponed from earlier in the year was moved to that Sunday when they had the bye week. I want to say it was the Steelers. And then they played the following Sunday. It was 3 games in 10 days because they were able to move the schedule around. They were willing to make adjustments along the way to kind of make sure that they got games in. So the NFL is saying, no, we're not doing that this year. A game is postponed by requirement of government authorities or medical experts, or at the discretion of the commissioner because of ongoing health concerns of an outbreak. The league can't find a suitable date to reschedule within the 18-week framework of the regular season. It goes on to say the original postponement was caused by an outbreak moving among unvaccinated players of the team. So with all of that being said, the NFL is doing everything that they can to make sure that they are not going to allow those unvaccinated to be comfortable. Now, I don't want to get into a conversation, folks, about my thoughts on getting the vaccine versus your thoughts of not getting the vaccine. But at the end of the day, why are these NFL players acting so victimized here? You have DeAndre Hopkins coming out. In fact, let me pull this up because I thought his tweet was a little dramatic. DeAndre Hopkins tweets out, "I never thought I would say this, but being put in a position to hurt my team because I don't want to partake in the vaccines is making me question my future in the NFL." Now, you know what the NFL says to that? See ya. You can go. Because what the NFL is not going to do is continue to invest into all the extra resources that go in to making sure that teams can continue throughout the season with unvaccinated players. Like, it costs the NFL for you not to have this vaccine. And it's really not an NFL thing. How many of you, I don't know how many of you out there have returned to work in as far as your office, but it's clearly different than what it was before the pandemic. But I'm sure a lot of you or some of you work in an environment, and maybe some of you don't, but some of you have been put in a situation where your company has basically done something similar as the NFL, saying, we can't force you to get it, but you're also not able to come work in the building if you don't get it. You're not allowed to sit amongst other people if you don't get it. You must wear a mask if you do come in if you don't get it. Basically just making it very uncomfortable. I know as an example, so we're doing the TBT this weekend, and I'm going to the Cavelli Center tomorrow night. Now, I'm jacked. Okay. I haven't been to a live sporting event outside of high school. I've been to live sporting events, but I haven't been to a live sporting event in a while that has had max fans. Okay. That's what we're going to get to experience at the Cavelli this weekend, as well as hopefully UD Arena here in a few weeks, when they get to the championship week. But part of the requirements were, okay, when I go to check in tomorrow, I do have to provide my vaccination card. I have to, there was a certain date that I had to get vaccinated by, and it wasn't like I can get vaccinated today and show up tomorrow. I had to be, vaccinated by, I believe it was like 2 weeks ago for me to be counted as vaccinated for this. So the TBT told me, you don't have to be vaccinated to cover the tournament, but if you are vaccinated, you'll get floor access. If you are vaccinated, you can, call the games closer to the floor. If you get vaccinated, you can have player, interaction. You could interview the players post game. You could be around the coaches. You could be around the players, and all that. You don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to social distance, that type of thing. But if I did not get vaccinated, which I would have that right to do, and you have that right as well. But what you don't have the right to is the right, to freedom of, consequences of not getting it. So the TBT told me that if I don't get vaccinated, I would have to call the games from up in the concourse area. I would have to be isolated, like we'd just be buried off somewhere calling the game. We'd have to wear a mask. We wouldn't have access to players. We wouldn't have access to coaches. And honestly, that sucks. Why do it? I don't want to be there then, right? So honestly, and I don't even care. I'll open up here. I'm not against the vaccine, but I also wasn't rushing to get it. But, when you kind of get put in a situation to where you want to, not be restricted, I'm like, you know what? You need the vaccine anyways. I mean, for me, I'm like, okay, if it helps protect me from this virus, cool. I'm going to go get it. And if it allows me to partake in fun things, like I have a wedding coming up, I'd like to go on our honeymoon and not have to worry about travel restrictions or being told I can't go to a certain country if I don't have the vaccine. So it's just one of those things where, okay, for me to do my job and for me to do it effectively, for me to go to the Cavelli Center, UD Arena, and call these games and be able to bring you player interviews and to be able to interact and be around people and not have to wear a mask, okay, that's worth it to me. I'll get it. Now, if I did not find the TBT interesting, if I did not care about you listeners, if I did not care about Dayton basketball or Ohio State basketball, if I didn't care about my job, I would say, yeah, it's not worth it to me to get the vaccine, so forget it. I'm just not going to get it. But because it's worth it, it was worth it to me to get the vaccine so that I could do my job and do it at a high level. So I could do high school football coming up. Okay, so I can cover Dayton Flyers basketball and Wright State basketball, Ohio State basketball, Ohio State football. I want to be able to do all of those things without any restrictions because the job is worth it to me to do that. If I didn't value my job, if I didn't value the opportunity to be around people at these games and have floor access and player access, if I didn't value any of those things, I wouldn't get it. But if the job means something to you, you'll do it. And that's kind of why I'm looking at these crybaby NFL players and I'm like, I don't want to hear DeAndre Hopkins say, I don't want to partake in the vaccines. Being forced to is making me question my future in the NFL. Okay. Clearly, you don't value your job as much as I value mine or that some of you value yours. If you don't value your safety from the vaccine, and I'm not here to scold you, okay? This is what I said earlier. Remember about the vaccine? I said that there's too many people that use science to back their decisions. But the problem is I could find enough science to back why I do or do not want to get vaccinated. And you can find enough science to prove why you should or should not get vaccinated as well. Then we just go in this stupid circle. I hate talking politics with people. I hate talking about COVID with people. I hate it with the passion. It's bringing out the absolute worst in people. The problem is, Schlemmer and I, when we do the show together back in the day, we would always say, you can always make numbers sing and dance. I can find enough numbers to convince you that the Reds are a great baseball team, but I could also find you enough numbers to show you that they're a bad baseball team. We can make numbers sing and dance. You can find enough science and evidence to prove that you should not get these vaccines. I could find you a ton that proves you should get the vaccine. But we're just going to scream at each other and call each other names and, make fun of our political affiliations and everything else. It's a waste of time. So to me, it's simple. It comes down to how I make my living. If DeAndre Hopkins feels like making millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in the NFL is not worth it to get the vaccine, then go do something else. Go do something else. Because if I'm a teammate of his, I'm like, I'm not judging you because you don't want the vaccine, but to say that you would rather quit than get the vaccine, then how much did this job even mean to you to begin with? Because that's kind of where I'm at. I just laid out that example. I really, really, really wanted to cover the TBT. And if I wouldn't have got the vaccine, it would have been a very unenjoyable experience. So it was worth it to me to get it. That's a very weird, motivation to go get it. But I think some of us who were on the fence of the vaccine, we're waiting for that motivation to go get it, which is kind of funny because the motivation of safety apparently isn't enough for me and you and some other people. But we all need that motivation. What I'm dying laughing at is that crybaby athletes like DeAndre Hopkins are like, don't force me to get the vaccine or I just might quit the NFL. And go. If your job if you do not value your job that much to the point that you would rather quit making millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars than to get the vaccine to protect you from a global pandemic, more power to you. I have no problem with the NFL doing this. Our businesses do this to us all the time. As I said, us normal people, we have to face the wrath of corporate America on a daily basis. We like to think that we have power. We like to think that we have value at our. I like to think that I bring a lot to the table here, and I believe I do. All right. I don't care if I sound arrogant and cocky. I work my ass off at this job. I feel like I bring a lot to the table here. But at the end of the day, if my bosses tell me I have to do something that I don't like, I have to then make a decision. Is me doing what I don't want to do that they are making me do so bad that I would rather quit? I have to make that decision. And I have yet to come across that experience here. And that includes with this vaccine. I can't speak for everybody. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong if you don't get it. But I don't want to hear athletes cry and say, if you're going to make me get it, I'm going to quit. Then quit. Then quit, because that's what that's called. That's called quitting. Because the NFL, I hate when people say, you can't force us to get it. The NFL's not forcing you to get it, but they are telling you that it is a privilege to play professional football. And if you want to play football, there are certain things you have to do. And if you don't do those things, we're not going to hold you down and jab you with the needle, but we're just going to tell you that your life's not going to be as comfortable playing in an NFL with all these COVID protocols that work against you. I'm Justin Kinner. I've probably pissed off a lot of people over the last couple of minutes with that rant, and that's totally fine. Everyone has different opinion on this COVID vaccine, and I'm not really trying to get into a debate with you about whether you think the vaccine is worth getting or not, because I could find, as I said, I could find science to prove why you need to get it. You will come at me with a couple articles that you found at googlemd.com and tell me why they're dangerous. And then we're just screaming into a wall at that point. It's a waste of time. I don't care. I don't care what your reasons are for why you want to get it or don't want to get it. You shouldn't care why I want to get it or not get it. You just need to know that you can make whatever decision you want. If you don't get the vaccine, that's totally fine. But to act like you are not going to be put in a situation where your life will be uncomfortable without it, as far as what access you have when it comes to jobs, when it comes to entertainment, or what have you, that's on you. I saw Urban Meyer's wife on Twitter just continuing to bitch and complain about having to wear masks in the airport and the plane. We get it. We get it, Shelley Meyer. You don't like wearing a mask. My God. I know in your little privied world that everything you're used to getting everything you want. Just wear the mask. Just wear it. I don't understand it. Crying about it on Twitter is not going to make it go away. It's annoying. It really is. And I get it. It's frustrating. Wearing the mask sucks, by the way, especially, a year ago at this time, it was 80, 90 degrees out. It's muggy. It's miserable. Trust me, it's uncomfortable. But if the worst part about your life is, oh my God, my 3 hours at an airport, I had to wear a mask, your life's not that bad. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Again, you have every right to feel what you want about the vaccine. I'm not judging you either way. I'm not judging DeAndre Hopkins on not getting the vaccine. I'm judging DeAndre Hopkins for doing this victim thing of saying, oh man, they're forcing me to get it. They're not forcing you to get it. I think we all need to kind of go back and kind of rethink what forcing means. Forcing is being held down and prodded against your will. That's not what's going on here. They're just saying, hey, you don't have to get it, but if you don't get the vaccine, here's the certain protocols you have to follow. And hey, if you get the vaccine, rainbows, sunshine, butterflies, chocolate-covered strawberries, happiness, what have you. It's your call. You decide if you want to deal with it or not. But a lot of backlash over the NFL coming out and doing what our everyday jobs do to us. There you go. There you have it. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. We'll step away for a few moments. Got some more Reds content coming your way. I want to give another shout out to Kendall Pollard for hanging out with us. Him hanging out with us a little bit ago. I really appreciate that. I know they're prepping for the TBT on Saturday at the Cavelli Center. 3 o'clock to tip off. You can catch Red Scare basketball, Dayton Flyers basketball on 1410 Wing AM. Just the Dayton Flyers Red Scare TBT games will be on 1410 Wing AM, as well as the Carmen's Crew Ohio State basketball game. So we're pretty pumped about that. But all of our interviews and TBT coverage leading into the games themselves, tipping off tomorrow night with Carmen's Crew, all of that is brought to you by Timothy's Bar and Grill. So shout out to the guys at Tim's. Love our partnership with them. Ann Anderson chimes in. Ann Anderson says, wear a mask, get your shot. If your place of employment says you must be vaccinated, that is their right. If you don't like it, find another job. Simple as that. I'm with you. I'm not telling people to we're not judging them for what decisions they make or don't make, but I'm judging the people, kind of cheers, they have the right to do that. I'm judging people who are getting, basically acting as if that they are being forced to do something. You're not being forced to do anything. Because if you are threatening that you're going to quit, most people who are being forced to do something don't have the option to quit because they're being forced to do something. So if you quit the NFL because you don't want to get the vaccine, that means you chose not to get the vaccine. You weren't forced to do anything. I'll be back. The Justin Kinner Show.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Ready for renovations? Arts Rental Equipment has the tools you need to make your home, lawn, and garden stand out this year. From brush chippers to cutoff saws, no job is too small or too big. Visit your local Arts store today. Work smart. Rent from Arts.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. So a friend told me about Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, and his exact words were, "It changed my life. I used to spend a ridiculous amount of time trying to remove tomato sauce from inside our microwave and soap scum off the bathtub. It's like seriously magic, and my secret weapon for cleaning the kitchen, bathroom, doors, and walls, and even keeping my sneakers clean. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. Greatest invention ever.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, the unicorn of cleaning.
Don't miss the savings during Lowe's Just for Pros event. Stop by the Pro Desk and get an extra 5% off volume savings orders over $1,500. Plus, look for more savings across the store, including tools, paint, lighting, and other pro essentials to help you get the job done right. Shop today at Lowe's, the new home for pros. Discount on eligible product only and reflected in quote. Terms and exclusions apply. See Pro Desk in store for details. Now through July 30th. U.S. only.
There's nothing better than a fresh-made home-style meal, but not everyone loves the hassle of cooking. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, home-style happens here with our famous 12-piece family meal at a great price. This famous family meal includes 12 mixed pieces of Lee's fresh, never-frozen chicken that is honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to perfection, plus 3 large sides and 6 fluffy biscuits. Get a home-style meal made easy today with Lee's 12-piece family meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
Hi, Pete Kasuja here to tell you that if you're looking for the very best selection of your favorite garden plants, we grow over 125 varieties of tomatoes, peppers, cabbage, broccoli, cucumbers, cantaloupe, and eggplants. And if you haven't tried our famous Neighbor Beater tomato and pepper plants, come out and pick up a few and enjoy the best taste you ever had from your garden. They taste so good you'll wish you planted more. And remember, Neighbor Beater garden plants are sold only at our garden center at 1309 Brant Pike. So get out that shovel and start digging. It's time for gardens, bedding plants, rose bushes, vines, ground cover, shade trees and shrubs, bird baths and fountains, and so much more. So join the Green Revolution and come out to see us at 1309 Brant Pike, where we're open 7 days.
Polking Bowling Centers are your connection for family fun or a great night out with friends. Looking for the best venue for your upcoming event or party? Check out our VIP suite at Polking Lane South. It's a unique, state-of-the-art VIP 8-lane luxury suite. It's not too soon to book your holiday party. Call today and let the good times roll. Let us book your holiday event at any of our centers. Polking Lanes in Dayton on Wilmington Avenue, Polking Woodman Lanes in Kettering on Woodman Drive, or Polking Lane South in Centerville on Kingsridge Drive. Ho, ho, ho!
Hey gamers, Viral Esports grand opening is this Saturday starting at noon. With over 30 games to choose from like Warzone, Fortnite, NBA 2K, there is something for everyone. Free all day. DJs, food trucks, prizes, and more. Viral Compound, 2078 Dorothy Lane, Kettering.
Do you have a home improvement project? Use the right tool for the job and rent from Arts Rental Equipment. Arts has the best selection from power washers and ladders to loaders and dump trailers. Work smart. Rent from Arts.
Staples Connect has everything to help you get ready for back to school with amazing prices for everything on your list. Visit your local Staples store, staplesconnect.com, and be more than ready for school. Staples.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays at 3 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. college football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we are back. Justin Kinner with you here on a Thursday. No Reds baseball tonight. The Reds are off. To be fair, the Reds have basically taken every day off since the All-Star break. They're 1-5, losing 5 of their last 6. Luckily, though, for the Reds, after losing the last couple of days, though, the Brewers have lost as well. So the damage could have been worse if you were the Cincinnati Reds, and luckily the Brewers who ruined the Reds' second half of the season by sweeping them have also, while burying the Reds, they've also unburied the Reds. I think the Brewers they had a chance. I think that the Brewers, if the Reds end up making things interesting and they make enough moves at the deadline, if they make moves to come back in this, the Brewers are going to look at this Royal Series and say, we blew it here. Because capitalizing on sweeping the team that's been nipping at your ankles basically since the season started, to sweep them at Cincinnati and then to lose back-to-back games against the Royals, that's not good of the Brewers. Look, I honestly think, so this is what's funny to me. Are the Reds even good? Are the Brewers even good? I'm being serious. When you play an opponent in baseball, there's no ties. There has to be a winner. I know that there's ties in the NFL, but I'm looking at the NFC East and I'm trying to in the NFC East, and they always call it the NFC least. But everyone rips that division in the NFL because, well, there has to be a division champion. Someone has to win it. It sucks that a bad Washington team who wins that division, has to host a home game, right? Like, isn't that annoying? It sucks that the division leader gets to host a home game in the playoffs. That's very, very frustrating. But that's just part of it. So everyone has looked at the NFC East the last couple of years, regardless of who wins it. No one looks at the division champion and says, yeah, but look at them. They're really good. They won their division. Sometimes you just won the division by default because you're 4 bad teams. Do they call you the NFC least for a reason? Someone has to win it. I'm not saying the NL Central is the NFC East, but you do have to ask yourself, does anybody want this damn division? Does anybody want it? Because this is you got to think back. The Reds won 90 games, 90. They won 90 games back in 2013. Okay, they won it. They won 90 games in 2013, and they finished 3rd in the division. You win 90 games this year, you're probably winning by 4 games. You're probably winning the division by 4 games. The Cincinnati Reds won 98 games in 2012 when they won the division, and they only won the division by 1.5 games. You win 98 games this year, you're winning it's not just about the gap between you and the last place team. You win 98 games in the NL Central this year. You're winning the division, not like by 20 games between you and the last place team. You're probably winning the division by 12 games between you and second place. So the fact that the Brewers have ruined an opportunity here, like the Reds should easily be 9 to 10 games back right now. The Brewers should be running away with this. But maybe the Brewers aren't that good either. The Reds took 3 of 4 from the Brewers at Milwaukee. Okay, it sounds good because they happen to be the team that's in first place. Someone has to be in first, right? The Brewers are in first place. Someone has to be in first. Is it that impressive that the Reds took 3 of 4 at Milwaukee? Is it impressive when anybody beats anybody in the NL Central? How good is the NL Central? I don't think it's good. I think we get caught up in, it's going to be competitive. It's a competitive division. Is it? Is the NL Central competitive? I think it's just 3 average. It's 3 very, very average teams and then a really, really bad Pirates team. I think it's kind of competitive by default, but I really don't think that there's any good team in the NL Central. I think the Brewers are the more well-rounded of all. But the fact that the Brewers, who I'm saying is the most well-rounded team, how can you let a team that has the second worst bullpen in baseball hang around? Like that doesn't make any sense. Up until this series coming out of the All-Star break, the Reds dominated the Brewers, and the Brewers are supposed to be the best team in the division. They're supposed to win this division. But yet you're getting beat up by the Reds, who have the worst bullpen in baseball. What is going on? Then the Brewers sweep the Reds, and you think, okay, second half of the season, we know that the real good teams, the championship teams, there is a switch, and it just seems that once the second half of the season starts, you could see light at the end of the regular season tunnel. They flip that switch and take off. I thought that's what the Brewers were doing, but I don't know how much of it was the Brewers beating the Reds versus the Reds beating themselves. Because I don't like when people take a small sample size of 3 games to start the second half of the season and then ignore everything else that happened in the first 90 games of the season. So who are the Reds? Are we basing the identity of the Reds off of these 6 games coming out of the break, or are we going to put the whole puzzle together and then decide whether we think it makes sense or not? My point is I think it's dumb of any of these teams to not go all in to win this division this year. I think the Cubs, I have no clue. I'm not going to be a Cubs aficionado. I know there's a lot of Cubs fans around here. It's going to be a tough couple days for you guys. We already saw them move on from Jock Peterson, of course, who they sent to the Braves after the Ronald Acuna Jr. injury. They needed to get a guy to replace him. I actually think that was a hell of an addition for the Braves, who I think that they're not, just because their best player is out for the season, they're not hitting the fold button. They're not, they're not panicking. They're like, that's not good, but we still have our pitching. That's the one thing that I do respect about the Braves, is because a lot of times people panic when you lose your best position player. Well, wasn't it just a few years ago the Nationals won the World Series? They won the World Series after losing their best position player in Bryce Harper. And then their best position player goes to the Phillies and they don't make the playoffs, and they've yet to make the playoffs. Like, that's what I find fascinating. I'm not saying Ronald Acuna Jr. isn't good or that he has no value, but you can overcome losing a position player. That's why I'm not freaked out about the Reds not having Nick Castellanos. When you're the second most efficient offensive team in baseball, it's not ideal to lose Nick Castellanos, but it's not a nail in the coffin by any means. I think that's why David Bell's stupidity of using Michael Lorenzen in the outfield, when their margin for error pitching wise is so slim. Why would you even risk putting your pitcher in a position to get hurt in a non-pitching situation? It's bad enough there's no DH in the National League to begin with, to where your pitchers have to put a bat in their hand. Pitchers might accidentally get on base from time to time, and they're going to be, vulnerable in those situations. But the fact that David Bell actually thought that he had and I keep saying this, David Bell's obsession with a pitcher who could swing a bat and make contact every once in a while is very creepy to me. Michael Lorenzen, hits 220? I know 220 in Cincinnati is good enough to put you in the 4 spot, in the cleanup spot. I know David Bell, he doesn't pay attention to that. But David Bell acts like Michael Lorenzen is Shohei Ohtani. Oh, he's a very good hitter for a pitcher. Yeah, he's a very good hitter for a pitcher. That's like saying you're very tall for a 5th grader. That doesn't make you tall. It just means you're a tall 5th grader. So being a good hitter for a pitcher means what? Was it worth putting him in the outfield where you already have 6 guys to begin with? The depth at the outfield is already, 5 with Castellanos being out. Anyways, I'm getting off topic here, but the point is how good is the NL Central? All of these teams should be aggressive right now at this deadline. Shouldn't just be the Reds. I can't believe the Cubs are ready to hit the reset button and get rid of these guys. I would try to hit the reset button in the offseason for the guys that you can move, but this division is still, there's a lot of baseball left. I'm changing my position from the last couple of days. I was very fired up, okay? I'm willing to admit that I flip-flop on some things, but that's because my opinions the day of come from my emotion and the way I'm feeling that day about that particular team. I'm a little ticked off. I'm a fan of the Cincinnati Reds, and they had a huge opportunity coming out of the All-Star break, and I bought in. I bought all these brand new Cincinnati Reds shirts. I'm getting all geared up. I got a brand new Reds hat that I've been waiting to break out. Going to the Reds game this weekend, I thought we were going to be, I thought Great American Ballpark was going to be max capacity filled up because, hey, the Reds took 2 or 3 from the Brewers, took 2 or 3 from the Mets, and they're a game and a half out of first place, and everything's going to be hunky-dory and exciting, and here the Reds are trying to avoid drowning. So I'm ticked off. I'm frustrated. But I still believe I have to keep convincing myself that when you look at what the Reds did in 6 games, that I think it's very, very strange of me to base the reputation of the team on the season off of these last 6 games versus the full body of work of the 90 games we saw in the first half. We know what this team's capable of. I think there's still a lot left there. July 30th, the trade deadline, a week from tomorrow. What will the Reds do? I'm anxious. Let's talk about that other pro team in Cincinnati. I'm going to lighten up on the Bengals today. Cincinnati Bengals fans, you did something right. I don't compliment you often, but you Bengals fans did something right. You guys you get an A+ from old Mr. Kinner over here. And that's Mr. Kinner. I'm like Deion Sanders. You must call me by what I tell you to. But we'll be back, top of the hour. I'm going to tell you why I think Bengals fans, they should feel good about themselves. Bengals fans, pat yourself on the back. You did something really, really smart for once. I'll tell you what that is on the other side. I'm sure you can't wait to hear me compliment you. We'll be back in a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
When you're ready to buy something, the first thing you do is go online. But buying a home is different. You've got loan applications, pre-approvals, competing offers, the list goes on. That's where a Realtor comes in. Realtors have expertise and local knowledge to give you a competitive edge that a search bar just can't. And in today's market, an edge is what you need. So when you're ready to buy a home, the first thing to do is make sure you have an agent who's a Realtor. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
So I still can't get over how much I saved at Kohl's. I did a double take when I saw my receipt. The home sale deals are just that great. I got 20% off a Keurig coffee maker, 40% off cute throw pillows, and a Bissell carpet cleaner for $249.99. I even got an extra 15% off and picked up Kohl's cash. So yeah, you know the saying home sweet home? More like Kohl's sweet Kohl's. Select styles, 15% offer ends July 25th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Tired of deciding what to cook tonight? Frickers is ready when you are with everyone's favorite ribs and frickin' chicken chunks. Tender baby back ribs and frickin' chicken chunks, only $12.99 dine-in only. Take the day off as kids 10 and under eat free every day. And you can relax and let Frickers take care of everything. Baby back ribs, frickin' chicken chunks, and kids eat free at the one place that makes lunch, dinner, or late night easy. The home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Baby back, baby back.
Hi, I'm Sales Manager Jason High at Germain Honda Beaver Creek, proud recipient of the prestigious President's Award. We are your local Honda dealer, and we invite you to see our newly renovated state-of-the-art facility. You'll be amazed at our selection, and remember, all new Hondas come with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Visit us at Route 35, just east of 675, conveniently located near Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way. I'll see you soon.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Don't wait to get a new job. Express Employment Professionals is hiring for more than 35,000 jobs. Find your local Express office at expresspros.com or on the Express Jobs app.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle. WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Are we good to go? Can everyone hear me? Man, that was just a rookie mistake. Act like you've been on radio before, Kinner. Here I am acting like I'm perfect and make no mistakes. And I started talking before the mic was even on. I mean, my goodness, that was a train wreck. Welcome back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Happy Thursday. The weekend inching closer and closer. How about that NFL training camp? For some teams, the Cowboys have reported to camp. The Steelers have reported to camp. And, there's really no headlines out of training camp for those teams because the NFL headlines have been dominated by, of course, the memo that was sent out earlier today of the very strict COVID protocols moving forward for teams who are under the threshold of vaccinated players. And it's led to a lot of negativity in regards to the talk of it because now you've guys like DeAndre Hopkins and some big name players who are threatening to retire. That we will retire before we get this vaccine. And I think that the NFL is like, okay. You know what's interesting? Baseball they don't have a star that carries the brand. There is not a player in baseball that could be injured for the year and it would impact Major League Baseball. For one, I think that's a problem because I do believe back in the day, if Sammy Sosa or Mark McGwire or Roger Clemens or Barry Bonds or guys like that, Randy Johnson, the guys I grew up watching, Pedro Martinez, just, Big Papi, those guys. If you lost one or two of those guys for a year, that would impact ratings across the board. A-Rod, Derek Jeter. There's not, you could pick the top three players in baseball today from a name recognition standpoint, and we could put Shohei Ohtani there. Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, who's whatever, always hurt, and Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge. I mean, you could take the five biggest names in baseball, put them out for the season, and I don't think it really impacts Major League Baseball as a whole. The National Football League is strange because they have Tom Brady, they have Patrick Mahomes, they have big names all over the place. But I think if Tom Brady was hurt for the year, it wouldn't hurt. If Aaron Rodgers, everyone's saying too that I read an article today that Roger Goodell and the NFL that they should step in with this Aaron Rodgers situation, that it's not good for the NFL's brand if Aaron Rodgers doesn't play. I couldn't disagree more. Drama makes the world go round, and a lot of times when a player is out, it leads to must-watch TV. If Aaron Rodgers sits out this upcoming season, do you think Packers football becomes less interesting? I think it becomes more interesting. Jordan Love, I'm going to tune in every week to watch the dude fail and then watch him get uncomfortable because, oh man, we should beg Aaron to come back. Or we're going to watch him succeed, and then it's going to be like, oh, crap, now what do the Packers do? Now what does Aaron Rodgers do, right? Like, to act as if the NFL doesn't need, that a star player being out is going to impact the NFL, it won't. So this idea that this vaccination mandate or mandate from the NFL is going to force players out and that'll force the NFL to change its policy, the NFL's looking at them like, guys, we have stars come into the league every year on draft night. There are household names Trevor Lawrence is an NFL star before he's even taken a snap yet. To act as if the NFL does not have an abundance of stars to carry the NFL brand, there is not one player, Patrick Mahomes, and I hope this doesn't happen. Patrick Mahomes can have a season-ending injury right now. The NFL's ratings will not be impacted. No one's going to say, you might have diehard Chiefs fans who only watch Chiefs football and they don't watch anything else. They might be out, but that's not going to impact the NFL whatsoever. It's not. So these players threatening to retire if they're forced, and they're not being forced, but if they are forced to get this vaccine and they threaten to retire, the NFL's not going to budge. They're going to look at you like, okay, dude, see ya. Bye, Felicia. Like, it ain't going to matter. Like, that's why I'm laughing at the temper tantrums of the players who are threatening to retire They can retire. It's not going to hurt them. The NBA, that is a star-driven league. It used to be, for me growing up, the brand of the teams carried a lot of weight. I remember this, talking with reps at ESPN. They get asked all the time. For one, people get so annoyed, by the way, when they air Yankees, Red Sox over and over and over. I don't know why people complain, because there are so many people that watch it that's why it justifies putting it on there. I know another Yankees Red Sox series. Are you kidding me? We're over it. No, you're not, because if you were over it, you wouldn't tune in and watch. And sure, it's a big TV market, and and obviously New York, and everyone watches in Boston, and yada yada yada. But as long as they're getting ratings and people to watch it, they're going to keep putting it on there. Why wouldn't they? A few years ago, before LeBron, the Lakers were rebuilding, Lakers and Celtics. That year, the Celtics were a lottery team. The Lakers were a lottery team. That was the year that I believe the Lakers got Lonzo Ball, and I think it was Jason Tatum. I can't remember what star. The bottom line is, it was before the draft. It was one of the last games of the regular season. Lakers and Celtics were the Sunday NBA on them ABC game. Everyone's like, why is that a thing? For one, the Staples Center was sold out. The ratings for it were high, because it was sometimes the brand of certain teams is a big deal. That's not the case in the NBA right now. It's all star driven. I don't know about you. I don't really have I grew up a Cavs fan because of LeBron James. When I heard about this guy that's my age, that is getting this attention, that's getting these ESPN games. Now it's common to watch high school basketball on ESPN. Back then, he was one of the first to really kind of garner headlines like this. I start hearing about this guy my age that's getting all this attention. I'm interested. I'm tuning in. Oh, he might go to Cleveland. Oh, I'm buying Cavs jerseys. I got Cavs jerseys for my birthday one year. It was my favorite thing in the world. There's not a jersey you could buy me right now that I'd be excited about. But back then, I was a Cavs fan. But then LeBron left, and I realized, oh man, I didn't realize I was more of a LeBron fan than a Cavs fan, because I don't really care about the Cavaliers. And it's not just because they lose. I mean, there was a point this season where it looked like they were picking up steam. Colin Sexton looked really good. It looked like the Cavs were about to take off. But I was like, I'm not a Cavs fan. If they succeed, it's cool. They're an Ohio team. I'll pull for them. But I'm not hanging up Cavaliers stuff in my room or my room. I'm 31 years old. Why would I hang up Cavs stuff in my room? But my office or something like that, But I'm a LeBron fan. I'm an AD fan. I'm a Zion fan. I'm a player fan. The NBA would be hurt if you lost your best players. That's why ratings in the playoffs they were strong, but they weren't as strong as they could be because so many players left. So the NFL players threatening to retire. You're not going to win that bluff. You're not going to win that bluff. The NFL, they're not going to blink either. They're not going to blink. The NFL will not be punished for this. They will get through it. It is what it is. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Interesting stuff there. We're talking about the Reds before. I'm going to get into this Bengals conversation coming up here in a moment. Doug Tobey. So we were talking Reds before the break. Doug Tobey said last year they could not hit and was short outfields and can hit 200. This year they have plenty of outfielders. That game they were down a player and game went extra innings. That's the only reason Lorenzen played. Oh, geez. Doug Tobey defending David Bell. He goes on to say that's the only reason Lorenzen played, not because Bell thought he was a great hitter. Doug, why were they out of players? Because everyone hated Dusty double switch Baker, right? Everyone couldn't, they couldn't stand Dusty Baker because double switch. But when David freaking Bell does it, it's good strategy. David Bell doesn't have to actually use every player. David Bell, for those of you crybaby parents out there that get mad at your coaches for not playing your little kid, oh, it's just not fair. They all work so hard. They should all play. You should be screaming for David Bell to be your coach because, my goodness, David Bell literally is obsessed with making sure that everyone gets playing time. He is the perfect YMCA coach. Everyone gets playing time. You get playing time regardless of talent, regardless of skill. Actually, David Bell would be the perfect high school baseball coach because of the fact that he would not fold to pressure from the rich parents, from the popular parents. We all know how that works growing up. We all had that coach that would play players that weren't that good, but because their parents were the rich people in town, or because they were the popular people in town, or because that parent would be a pain in the ass and complain to the point where the coach would play. Stop. This isn't the YMCA. This isn't, youth sports where everybody, and by the way, youth sports is cutthroat. Not everyone plays in youth sports. David Bell's obsession with running his bench into the ground before you even get to the 8th inning half the time. So, Doug, while you're trying to defend David Bell's usage of Michael freaking Lorenzen in the outfield, maybe he shouldn't have done. I mean, why does he have to continue to switch out so many guys? Why? There's no need to do it. You would rather take out one of your best players. And by the way, like for instance, when he takes out guys like Naquin. Sorry, I literally drew a brain fart there. Naquin. He took him out the other night. He was 5 for 5 the night before. He was 1 for 3, and then he got taken out the next day for a double. Why? Oh, because the matchup wasn't good for the next at-bat. But guess what? They needed him a couple at-bats later. So that's why I get frustrated here. Stop defending David Bell's usage of him in the outfield. He's a pitcher. You signed him to be a pitcher. Is it nice to have him be able to be a threat with the bat in his hand when he comes up in the bottom of a game, late in the game? Sure. But don't try to convince me that David Bell made the right decision of putting him in the outfield. David Bell putting him in the outfield was not, you act as if, oh, he ran out of players. That's why David Bell had to use him. No, David Bell had to use him because of David Bell's bad managerial decisions of having to use everybody in the lineup. It is annoying. And now I haven't even been able to get to me complimenting Bengals fans because I'm too busy having to remind people to stop defending David Bell. Michael Lorenzen's on the injured list because of David Bell. David Bell's stupidity in handling Michael Lorenzen is why he is on the IL. The Reds, but the whole plan, if I'm Nick Krall, the Reds general manager, if I'm the Castellinis, I'm furious at David Bell right now because the whole message that the front office was trying to send to the fan base was, the cavalry is coming. Oh, you're going to make trades? No. The cavalry's coming from within. We got Hunter Green coming up to the system. We have Michael Lorenzen and TJ Antone, and we got all these guys coming back. Pitchers. And you take your pitcher on the first series that he is back after being out since the offseason, and you put him in the outfield, and he gets hurt, and now you don't know when he's going to be back. But hey, continue defending that. I don't know what to tell you, Doug. I love you, Doug, but come on. You get very defensive of David Bell, and I have no clue why. What has David Bell done to make you or anyone trust that he makes the right decisions enough times to shut guys like me up? Because until they start winning consistently, I'm not going to give him any credit at all until he starts making better decisions that way, because his decision-making is why that happened. Anyways, I'm being too critical now. I was trying my best to be calm, and now I'm not. So it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Listen, I promise you on the other side of this break, I will compliment Bengals fans. The Bengals fans got something right. I'm very excited about the Bengals Ring of Honor coming up. We're going to talk about that. Congratulations to you Bengals fans who had a vote on the Ring of Honor. You guys nailed it. I'm excited. Big fans of the two guys that were just inducted into the Bengals inaugural Ring of Honor. I'll talk about that on the other side. It's the Justin Kinner Show.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 82. Tonight will also be partly cloudy, a low near 62. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, a high near 85. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
For the ones who get going when the going gets tough. And the ones who know we're tougher together. For the Pathfinders breaking new ground. Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as fast access to experts and 24/7 customer support. Because we know you have people depending on you, so you can always depend on us. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
O'Reilly. Ready for your next road trip? Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts to get everything you need to stay safe while traveling. Visibility on the road is so important and so easy to achieve. Get your windshield streak-free and crystal clear with Blue Magic Glass Cleaner. On sale now, 2 for $5. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dashboard light problems? We can help. Our free Fix Finder service can read your check engine light, ABS light, and service indicator light, and give you possible solutions, verified by licensed technicians. You'll even get detailed results sent straight to your email so you have them when you need it most. It's the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes. The free Fix Finder service, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
More details at AutoZone.com.
What makes the perfect workout? Being able to ride, lift, and stretch in one place with motivating instructors.
Y'all look so good out there, Peloton.
Classes that always work around your busy summer schedule.
Push, Peloton. You've got 20 minutes of opportunity on this ride.
Instructor-curated playlists for every mood.
Let's turn it up. Come on.
Now what if you had it all? Right at home. The Peloton Bike. Nothing like working out from home. Visit onepeloton.com to learn more.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus, home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well, medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Do you have an old sports program, baseball, photo, ticket, or game-used equipment just collecting dust? Sports Investments wants to buy your sports memorabilia. They're also interested in old sports cards and also buying political, aviation, and entertainment items. Bring your collectibles to Sports Investments and get a fair value on the spot. If you decide to sell, they'll pay you immediately. Sports Investments is the largest buyer of memorabilia and cards in the area since 1993. Sports Investments also feature the best selection of autographed memorabilia, sports cards, and other collectible items for sale, including all your favorites like Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Joey Votto, the Bengals, the Browns, the Big Red Machine, UC, XU, UK, NKU, UD, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, just to name a few. You'll enjoy the experience of dealing with the Walter family. Call them at 513-891-5000. Email Adam at sportsinvestments.com or visit them on Montgomery Road, right off I-275, just 40 minutes from WING.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Want free Reds tickets? How about a free MLB Network Reds bag? Maybe a Reds bobblehead? Here's an idea. How about we combine them all together and give you a chance to win a free WING Reds prize pack presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Register daily at wingam.com. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
All right, we are back. I'm Justin Kidder, hanging out with you here on Thursday. I've harped on it a lot, but I'm excited. The TBT on WING coming at you live tomorrow night from the Covelli Center in Columbus. Immediately following the show tomorrow, I'll be leaving here, the station in Dayton, and heading immediately to Columbus to the Covelli Center and jumping, in and getting set up, and super pumped to be bringing you Ohio State basketball, at least Carmen's crew, their alumni team, as the TBT, that regional kicks off at the Covelli beginning tomorrow. I'm really excited about that. And then on Saturday, former Flyer Norm Grebe and myself, we will be live at the Covelli to call the Red Scare games. We had Kendall Pollard, former Flyer, on with us earlier this afternoon. I will have that conversation with him coming up for you here in about 15 minutes. Really good stuff in there. I found it fascinating because, right now we talk about capitalizing on the success of the Flyers program, not just success, but the success within the NCAA. Like what Archie did building on that Elite Eight run was fascinating. watching what Anthony Grant did with the program, taking over for Archie and building on Archie's success has been fascinating. Watching what Anthony Grant has done, capitalizing on the exposure of the program with Obi Toppin there, has been fascinating. They have the highest ranked recruiting class in program history coming in, and I don't think it's any secret as to why. It does help that, all the millions of dollars in renovations to that beautiful arena over there, that definitely helps. But the overall just production of everything, the overall perception of everything with the on the floor product, with the arena, with the conference, with everything about they are flourishing right now. Now, what they do with it, success on the floor has to come. Anthony Grant still has not technically coached an NCAA tournament game. I have yet to see him pace the sidelines for the Flyers during March. I believe that time's coming. I don't know if it's this coming up season, but it is interesting hearing from Kendall Pollard, who, you hear the good players coming into the program now, and it's because they've been exposed to the program. And look, Dayton's not like a hidden secret around the country by any means, but when you're talking to a kid from Chicago, that's why I thought it was interesting here. Kendall Pollard explained how Dayton even popped up on his radar from a very good, talented piece in Chicago that was under-recruited, and how UD became a part of his decision-making back in the day. Really good stuff. Good conversation with him. I'm excited to have that coming up for you here in just a moment. But yeah, the TBT on WING, just a reminder, all games you can watch on ESPN's family of networks. And if you can't get to ESPN3, or any of those channels, you can catch the Red Scare and all Carmen's Crew games right here on 1410 Wing AM. All right, Bengals fans, let's have a little chat, shall we? You guys did something smart for once, and I know even when I'm complimenting you, I still come across as a jerk. I shouldn't have said smart for once, but you guys nailed it. The Ring of Honor. All right, you can witness history coming up on September 30th when the Cincinnati Bengals honor their very first Ring of Honor class. Joining Paul Brown and Anthony Munoz in the inaugural Ring of Honor class for the Cincinnati Bengals will be, a pair of Kens, Ken Anderson and Ken Riley, the two names that I was very high on. And I don't think that's a hot take on my part. I think that was the very popular decision. Obviously, the season ticket holders voted upon Ken Riley and Ken Anderson to represent the Bengals in their very first Ring of Honor class. And those two names were the right ones. I actually think that even if they had not voted or not allowed the fans to vote, that Ken Anderson and Ken Riley, let's just say that the Bengals put out their first four in the Ring of Honor, and they didn't allow the fans to vote. I do believe that these were the four that they would have gone with. I am a little, I'm not going to say shocked, but there was a part of me that was a little concerned over the recency bias, and it wouldn't have been the end of the world to see Chad Johnson be in this group. I think there could have been I've heard a lot of good reasons as to why Chad Johnson should have been a part of it. Just being able to connect a more recent Bengal with the current fans, and then still honoring the longtime Bengals fans, with the Paul Browns and Anthony Munoz and Ken Anderson. But either way, I think that you have way too many great Cincinnati Bengals who are not being respected and being put into the Hall of Fame. And that this is the least that the Bengals can do in regards to making sure that they are going to be at least propped up and honored amongst their fan base. Ken Anderson, Ken Riley, I don't think ever felt the shortage of love from the Bengals fans. I do believe that they have been disrespected when it comes to the Hall of Fame. Ken Riley especially. But I really am excited that was announced today. So Paul Brown, Anthony Munoz, Ken Riley, Ken Anderson, those are your four that will be honored in the Bengals Ring of Honor, their very first Ring of Honor class. And they're going to be honored on prime time on September 30th on NFL Network. It'll be the Bengals and the Jaguars. It'll be Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence in town in Cincinnati. And that's when they're going to unveil it. So it says that the Cincinnati Bengals today announced Ken Anderson and Ken Riley will join Paul Brown and Anthony Munoz in the inaugural Ring of Honor class. Season ticket members selected Anderson and Riley from a ballot that featured 17 former players. So the Ring of Honor induction ceremony will take place during halftime on September 30th when the Bengals play on Thursday Night Football against the Jags. Additionally, the Bengals will celebrate the 40th anniversary of the 81 team Super Bowl appearance during a pregame ceremony. Now, I'm not using this moment to poke fun at the Bengals. I just have to ask, is that a thing? Do teams do that? Do they honor Super Bowl appearances? I'm not being funny here. I'm asking. I know in college athletics that you will honor, like for instance, that Elite Eight team for the Flyers. We just had Kendall Pollard on. In college athletics, especially in college basketball, it's so hard to win a national championship, almost impossible for some. I say this all the time. This is why I make Flyers fans mad when everyone said they would have won a national championship in 2020. I would not have guaranteed that. There's no telling that. You can't guarantee that would have been the outcome. The reason I say that is not because I'm crapping on the Flyers. It's because the best team never wins the NCAA tournament. The number one team never wins the NCAA tournament. It's always the reason it's such a drama-infused month is because it's a bunch of games. It's a bunch of unknowns happening. Like, that's what makes March Madness fun. It's the Cinderellas. It's the upsets. It's the unknown that happens. It's crazy. The best team never wins it. That's why I never said, I believe, they definitely would have. Obi Toppin's Flyers would have definitely. I never will say that. And it's not because I hate UD, as most people like to try and convince people of. I'm just saying, even there's people within the program I've talked to that said there was no guarantee they were going to win anything, but damn, this was their best opportunity to do so. That I can agree with you on. But that team never technically won a national championship, but that team will be honored at some point in the future. That Elite Eight team for the Flyers, that team will be honored at some point in the future. You see that in athletics. I'm not being funny here. Help me out on Facebook and on YouTube. Do pro teams really honor Super Bowl losses? I know there's no Super Bowl wins to go off of. I am not being negative here. I'm just asking. I found it a little odd that they are going to celebrate the 81 Super Bowl appearance. That's weird to me. So the Patrick Mahomes Kansas City Chiefs that just lost his most recent Super Bowl, are they going to honor the 2020 Super Bowl appearance 20 years from now? I don't think so. Are the Rams, who lost to the Patriots a few years ago, are they going to bring back a lot of those Rams players and with Sean McVay 20, 30 years from now to celebrate that Super Bowl appearance? I'm not being funny. I'm not being mean, but I have to ask, is it weird that the Bengals are celebrating a Super Bowl appearance and not a Super Bowl victory? They don't have Super Bowl victories to celebrate, but that means you don't have anything to celebrate. So that's all. That's all I want to know. Bengals fans, don't get mad. I do believe that some of you have to ask yourself that too. Are you really excited to honor a team that lost the Super Bowl? Great players. You could honor the players from there. But look at the Cincinnati Reds. No one is going to bring back the 2011 and 12 Cincinnati Reds. When the Reds won the division in 2012 and made the playoffs, Joey Votto wins MVP. Are 30 years, and by the way, the Reds might have to resort to that because they've kind of milked the Big Red Machine dry. Let's just put it that way. But I'm fascinated by that. Are they really going to will the Reds bring the 2012 players to Great American Ballpark or whatever new ballpark they play in by 20 years from now and say, all right, during this, during the pregame, we're going to celebrate the 2012 Cincinnati Reds who won the division but lost embarrassingly in the playoffs? No. Why? That's not going to happen. The Reds honor the Big Red Machine teams. They honor the 90 World Series team. They honor the World Series teams from even before the Big Red Machine. That's what you do. I just find it odd. That's all. I don't, let me be fair here. If the Cleveland Browns did this, if 20 years from now they say the 2020 Browns team that beat the Steelers in the wild card, we're going to honor that team in the pregame ceremonies. Like, I would even make fun of that. I would laugh. I would make fun of that. Just saying. So, no, I do find it very odd that the Bengals are honored. And by the way, if there's examples of other teams doing it, I'll admit I'm wrong. I just found it very strange in the write-up that they are going to be honoring the 1981 team's Super Bowl appearance during a pregame ceremony. It goes on to quote here again, President Mike Brown for the Bengals says, "We have a long history of players, many of them great players. That's a weird. Well, we have a long history of players. Well, yeah, Mike Brown, you can't have a team if you don't have players. What a weird statement. We have a long history of players, many of them great players. Shouldn't that statement be we have a long history of great players? We have a long history of players, many of them great. Ken Anderson and Ken Riley are at the top of that list of great players," said Bengals President Mike Brown. "They were the type of players that we like to think our team is all about. I am pleased that they are top picks of the fans." And I am too. So in all seriousness, big fan of the two names that were just announced today, joining Paul Brown and Anthony Munoz, the inaugural class of the Cincinnati Bengals ring of honor. Training camp is officially kicked off. We're getting closer and closer, and I'm pretty pumped about this upcoming season. I like to talk a lot of trash. I love when Bengals fans talk trash to me, but the Browns and the Bengals, baby, that's going to be a very fun ride this coming up season for both teams as camp is officially underway. But 457-9464, I'll go ahead. I'll open up the phone lines. I'll see if I can get some help on this. I only have one phone line open for today. We're still working on that. I promise you that will get fixed soon. But when the Cincinnati Bengals say that they are going to honor the 1981 Super Bowl appearance in a ceremony, I find that strange. Why are you honoring a team that did not win the Super Bowl? You could honor former great players. I have no problem with that. It took you long enough to finally get to this Ring of Honor. Cool. But then you got to weird it up with we're going to honor the 81 Super Bowl appearance. That's strange to me. That's like... That's friend zone type stuff. It's like, oh, you're close. You're walking around with the hot girl, but you're not quite dating, or you're not quite, reaping the rewards. I'll just leave it at that, right? Like, that's what this is. Well, we didn't win it, but we're going to honor it. It's a great experience in our history. That's strange to me. All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show without Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weird story out of the NFL. I hear so many people over the last couple of weeks talk about actions have consequences, right? Actions have consequences. And especially when it comes to this pandemic and it comes to getting vaccinated versus not getting vaccinated. I'm over the vaccination talk, but hear me out. Sometimes we do have to accept the consequences of our actions. And sometimes the consequences are supposed to be so bad that it keeps us from making that same bad decision again. So that's what the NFL is technically doing here. We're not going to force you to get vaccinated, but we are going to make your life uncomfortable if you don't get vaccinated. So your actions of not getting it, the consequences will be that you have to wear the mask every day. You have to get tested daily. If you end up testing positive, you have to go into the COVID protocols from a year ago. And if there's an outbreak amongst players and like last year, for instance, there was an entire offensive line unit for the Raiders that was wiped out. Now, because the NFL was flexible last year, they were able to move that game back. Maybe not that scenario. No, they were able to carry more players on the roster because of this. That's not going to be the case this year. They're not bending it all for COVID this year. What they are saying is what Greg Sankey of the SEC said was, we're not adjusting anything for COVID this year because the only option that'll help you get through this is get vaccinated. And if you get vaccinated, you're fine. You don't have to do the testing. You don't have to do all the other protocols. If you don't get vaccinated, boom, guess all the hoops you have to jump through. It could become a mess. Actions have consequences. That's that, right? Well, how about these consequences? If I was to tell you that you could break the law and that your punishment would be 1 day in jail, would that really deter you from breaking that law moving forward? I'm not talking about murder or anything like that, but Michael Kendricks was sentenced to 1 day in jail and 3 years probation in insider trading case. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm reading this right, and I know that, and by the way, I'm not smart enough to even figure out how to make insider trading work in my favor. But at the same time, with Kendricks, I'm watching Michael Kendricks get 1 day in jail for this. I'm thinking, well, maybe I should try insider trading. I mean, if all the punishment is 1 day in jail, I mean, my goodness, I could deal with 1 day in jail if it means giving me a chance to make a lot of money off insider trading, right? Actions have consequences. Well, with consequences like that, who needs rewards? Because if the outcome is I still have a chance to make a lot of money, more power to you. But this is interesting. Again, free agent linebacker Michael Kendricks was sentenced Thursday to 1 day in jail, 3 years of probation, and 300 hours of community service as a result of his 2018 guilty plea to insider trading charges. Now, Kendrick's agent, he still has an agent, and that's Doug Hendrickson, told ESPN that the linebacker is serving his 1 day jail sentence today. So while we are doing the show, he is, basically taking in his consequences of insider trading, pleaded guilty, gets 1 day in prison, gets 1 day in jail. So Hendrickson did say that not knowing what kind of sentence to expect made it a very emotional day. Can you imagine going to your sentencing and assuming that you're going to get months, maybe years in prison, And then the judge looks at you and says, you got 1 day in jail. I would laugh. I would laugh at the judge. I'd be like, wait, what? Really? 1 day? Unbelievable stuff. He wants to play still. He wants to play in the NFL. He wants to get back on the field. And if history has told us anything, he'll definitely get a job. I see people on social media. No one's going to touch him. Not with that baggage. There are guys in the NFL who have been charged with domestic violence, who have been arrested for that, who have done some horrible, despicable things, and yet make an NFL roster. This guy gets 1 day in jail for insider trading, and you think he's not going to make an NFL roster? Give me a break. The dude will be playing soon enough. I promise you that much. It's the Justin Kinner Show without Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. If you missed the interview with Kendall Pollard earlier today, I have that coming up for you on the other side. Former Dayton Flyer. Great conversation there. We all know that the Archie Miller experiment at Indiana did not work out. I asked Kendall about his thoughts on that. Was he surprised that it didn't work out? Very interesting response from Kendall, and very good stuff from Kendall Pollard regarding the preparation for the upcoming TBT, the driving motivation behind why these guys continue to come together to play and unite once a year for the TBT. He has that response for you on the other side as well. Great stuff. Our TBT interview with Kendall Pollard, brought to you by Timothy's Bar and Grill over on Brown Street. They are a part of all our TBT coverage heading in to the TBT on WING, which tips off tomorrow night. I'm going to be live at the Cavelli Center bringing you Carmen's Crew basketball tomorrow night, and then Norm Greavy and myself will be live at the Cavelli on Saturday for the Red Scare. Very excited about that. Kendall Pollard, my conversation with him next. Don't go anywhere.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
What comes to mind when you hear this? Well, trees, of course, but there's a lot more to it. The Ohio chapter of the International Society of Arboriculture would prefer to have you think of healthy, safe trees, and the best way to ensure that is to hire an ISA-certified arborist. ISA-certified arborists are specially trained, and there are even certified arborists trained to help identify at-risk trees. Find a certified arborist near you at trees4ohio.org. Trees, the number 4, ohio.org. And you might just hear less of this.
A few days ago while hanging out with my family, I noticed my father staring blankly at me. Something's not right, I thought. Is he having a stroke? Then I remembered to act fast, F-A-S-T, and did this quick test. F, face. I asked my father to smile. One side of his face drooped. A, arm. I asked him to lift both arms. No problem there. S, speech. I asked him to repeat a phrase. His speaking was slurred. T, time. I called 911 for immediate help. This way, he began receiving life-saving treatment in the ambulance. My father was out of the hospital in a few days, all because he made it to the hospital within an hour of his stroke. Practice recognizing the signs of a stroke so that you can act F-A-S-T, fast, to save a loved one.
This message is brought to you by the Ohio Department of Health's Covered L Stroke Program.
Hi, this is Sales Manager Jason High of Germain Honda Beaver Creek, personally inviting you to take advantage of the 0% financing on the Honda HR-V, Passport, and Pilot. Germain Honda has over 200 new Hondas to choose from, including the redesigned 2021 Honda Ridgeline and the 2022 Honda Odyssey, plus over 30 of the brand new 2022 Honda Civics to choose from. Now that's a selection no one else in the region can claim. Route 35 just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
Over the last year and a half, we all learned some hard lessons. One of the most important is that you can't put off the inevitable. Hi, this is Mark Davis at Dayton Memorial Park Cemetery and Mausoleums. No matter how hard it is to think about, we all need a final resting place. When pre-planning with your funeral home, please remember that cemetery arrangements must also be made. Call us today at 937-890-1831 or visit our website at DaytonMemorialPark.com. And remember, Dayton Memorial Park is a beautiful place to celebrate life.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Hey gamers, Viral Esports grand opening is this Saturday, noon to 2 a.m. Free gameplay all day. Simulator racing for a chance to win a new Xbox Series X. A Warzone tourney at 5 p.m. DJs, food trucks, and more. Viral Compound, 2078 Dorothy Lane, Kettering this Saturday.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Great values are happening now during Lowe's Summer Savings. Save on select appliance special values. Plus, save an additional $50 when you buy 2 or more appliances, $396 or more. You'll also find new lower prices on ceiling fans, landscape lighting, and more. So shop Lowe's today. In-store must ask cashier to apply discount. Must purchase 2 or more appliances, each totaling $396 or more. Can't be combined with more discounts. Savings varies based on eligible total purchase. See Lowe's.com for restrictions. Valid 7/15 through 8/4. U.S. only.
Attorney Joe Cordell.
For many men, divorce brings a bewildering sense of loss. You feel adrift, isolated, like you're the only person in the world. But the good news is you're not alone. Cordell & Cordell is here to help. For more than 30 years, Cordell & Cordell has been there to guide men through all aspects of divorce, and we'll be there for you.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Dayton area attorneys. 2689 Commons Boulevard, Suite 100, Beaver Creek, Ohio, 45431.
Don't wait to get a new job. Express Employment Professionals is hiring for more than 35,000 jobs. Find your local Express office at expresspros.com or on the Express Jobs app.
All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Happy Thursday. The TBT on WING. Just a reminder that we will be carrying every Red Scare and Carmen's Crew game right here on 1410 Wing AM. We'll kick it off tomorrow night, Friday night at 9 p.m. It'll be a late tip, but it'll be Carmen's Crew, Ohio State's alumni team, tipping things off for us here on 1410 Wing AM. And then the one we're all excited for, the Red Scare, Saturday at 3 p.m. And I'm excited to bring on a former Dayton Flyer who you'll have a chance to see play this coming Saturday. We have former Flyer Kendall Pollard. Kendall, you're one of my all-time favorite Flyers, man. I